Hello everybody, how's everybody doing today? Happy Sunday night, happy Sunday night. Where is everybody from? Where's everybody from? How are you guys? How are you guys? Nice to see you. 1,000 people here today, 1,000 people. Just do me a favor, we are 1,500 likes away from 1 million likes on this account, and this is us for sure, it's definitely us. Where are you guys from? Where is everybody from? Can you do me a favor? Can you tap, tap, tap on your screen? 1,000 people, we should get to 10,000 likes real quick, and that'll drag a bunch more people in here. And then I'm gonna go right into the lesson, because really I've just been working all day today on a murder case, and that's all I've been working on all day. I've not worked on teaching you guys exactly what Terry versus Ohio is. I have not done enough in teaching today. I just spent 2 hours editing. How is everybody? Where are you from? Where are you guys from? Can you guys just drop in the comment section for me? Where are you guys from? My name is Chile DeCastro. I teach how you lost your rights, the origin of how you lost your rights, how police can legally shoot people in the United States of America, and they do it legally. I think I said it right from the beginning with. If the police can shoot you, and we know this from Ronald Green and Eric Garner, if the police can shoot you or choke you out in front of everybody, and then they don't get arrested immediately, that's a police state. That's a total authoritarian police state. There's no other way to see it. If Ronald Green, when Ronald Green's tape came out and we saw Ronald Green getting beaten to death by the Louisiana State Troopers, and he dies right there on the scene, in a true state based on liberty and that you have the right to life, the men who murdered Ronald Green would have been arrested immediately upon seeing the tape. They would have taken those men to a prison for murder. And they did not. Where you are, sir, is you are on DeleteLaws.com. What I do is I teach that we should delete Terry versus Ohio. That's what I teach. Go to my website, Delete Laws. You can get my ebook for free just by saying, hey, Chile, I want the ebook for free. Just go to the register button and get my ebook for free. Get the wall graphic that I teach on 100% for free. Just go to my website, DeleteLaws.com, or you can buy it, and I appreciate that, but I don't care. I want you to learn what I'm about to teach. So how many first-timers here? How many first-timers? How many first-time people here? How many first-time people here? How many first-time people here? Is that what it is? Are we in a tinfoil hat? Okay, let me ask the guy that just said you've officially entered a tinfoil hat. I asked this earlier to a police officer, and I'll ask you guys too. Do we not share the same prison statistics? Do we not share the same data? I mean, are there not 2 million people in America in jail? There are, right? I mean, I'm just saying, there are. Fifth time, first time, second time? Second time, first time, how many? First timers, second timers? Tell me how many people have been here. How many times? First time, third time, fifth time? Hey, Christy Cross 22. I'd be better off if I went back to producing TV and film. So if it's your first time here, what I teach specifically is a Supreme Court case called Terry versus Ohio. And Terry versus Ohio is based on John Terry. John Terry standing downtown Cleveland, Ohio, busy Halloween day on 1963. And what happens is that police officer, that white cop right there, excuse me, I had to get some water. That white police officer right there, he runs over and he grabs John Terry, this man right here. He goes over and he grabs him. And that's the Terry versus Ohio case. Do police have the right to run up and grab you? What do you guys think? Do you guys think that police have the right to run up and grab you? Do you guys think police have the right to run up and grab you? Yes or no? Do the police have the right to run up and grab you like they did John Terry? Can a cop look at you and say, you know what? I'm suspicious of that guy right there. Doesn't matter where you are, what you're doing. Cop looks at you and he says, I'm suspicious of you. Do the police have the right to run up and grab you? Yes or no? Yes, they have the right. No, they don't. Just tell me, just so I know, so you guys can just tell me if I sit up here and I teach this stuff all day. So I just want to know what this classroom of people thinks. Okay. No, absolutely not. No, absolutely not. More no's than yeses, 60-40 at least. 70%. No, 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 no. It's situational, is what he said. Situational, depends on what color your skin is. So, now that you're answering that question of whether or not the police have the right to run up and grab you, you're actually answering the question of the Supreme Court case called Terry versus Ohio. These 9 men right here sat around and said, do the police have the right to run up and grab you? Now, to answer that question, you would have to look at the Bill of Rights and decide if it's in the Bill of Rights that cops can run up and grab you, because what do they call this place? Land of the free and home of the brave, right? So freedom means, specifically listed by your exact rights, freedom means the right of the people to be secure in their person against unreasonable searches and seizures. That's what freedom in America means. Forgive me, I took a huge bong rip right before I jumped on this live. So I got that like bong in my mouth. Ugh, it's the worst. So anyway, so in Terry versus Ohio, what happens is you have that right to be free of unreasonable searches and seizures. And so when Martin McFadden runs up and grabs John Terry, and then from 63, 5 years later, it goes to the Supreme Court, then the Supreme Court, what they do is, remember what it said over there? It said, against unreasonable. That's the whole key to you losing all your rights. Because the Supreme Court is going to say that in the name of officer safety, that it's reasonable that they run up and grab you, and you accept that. So just so you know, in 1968, when that holding came out, most white people knew it wouldn't be applied to them. And it wasn't applied to most white people. It just wasn't. It was only applied to black people that they thought could have guns because they were afraid of the Black Panthers. They didn't want a black militant group rising up. That's what it all stems from. And you know that because then in October of 68, you got the Omnibus Crime Bill, the 1968 Omnibus Crime Bill. And that's going to include the 1968 Gun Control Act. And the 68 Gun Control Act is going to be an extension of the 1911 Sullivan Act, which again was only passed so that black people could not have guns. I wish this was not our history, but it is. So I just happen to know it, and so I'm sharing it with you guys. I think it's important that I've stood on the shoulders of people who know far more than me and read their stuff and watched their videos, and I've learned things, and so I now share it with you so that you can pass it on to people, so that when you talk to people, you can say, hey, listen guys, I watched this guy on TikTok, and he seemed like Pepe Silva, but let me just tell you something. He had put overturned Terry across his wall, and then he showed me that when the lynching chart came to an end right here in 1965, just a few years later, Terry v. Ohio began. So my friends, I'm showing it to you. And if you're a conservative, or if you're a Republican, or if you're a liberal, or if you're a Democrat, let me just tell you something. The Supreme Court doesn't give a shit how you feel. They don't care about you. You don't know anything about them, and there's a reason why. They don't want you to. They don't want, so let me ask you another question. How many people here, first timers, second timers, third timers, how many people here knew that in 2001, there was a Supreme Court case called Atwater versus City of Lago Vista? And this is where a white, was she a white woman? I think she's a white woman. I'm pretty sure she was. Gail Atwater was her name. Gail Atwater took her case to the Supreme Court. Gail had been arrested for not wearing her seatbelt. That's what Gail, in Atwater versus City of Lago Vista in the year 2001, that's what I'm talking about right here. So what I'm saying is Gail Atwater, she wasn't wearing her seatbelt in the city of Lago Vista, Texas. And so the cops saw her for the second time that week. not wearing her seatbelt with her 2 kids. And so that copper, he said, you know what? I'm going to arrest Gail. I'm going to call Child Protective Services for her children. That's what happens. Gail, she sues that police department, and it goes all the way up to the Supreme Court. Now, let me ask you guys a question. Did you know anything about Atwater versus City of Lago Vista before this moment right now? Had anybody ever told you about Atwater versus City of Lago Vista? Can you just tell me real quick? I just need to know. I need a barometer just to see how many people just know some stuff. No. 3 no's. Never knew about it. No. Nope. And by the way, that's not your fault. I'm not in any way, shape, or form judging you at all whatsoever. I'm not saying, no, sir, no. Thank you. Thank you guys thank you. Appreciate that. Nope. I almost stuck myself in the face with a stick. I believe I studied it in school. Awesome. Not me. Okay, cool. So now let me tell you what City of Lago Vista says. When the Supreme Court, it would have been the Rehnquist court, those 9 people, super elitists who were appointed that have nothing in common with you and me. What they held at the Supreme Court level, they don't rule, they uphold the constitutionality of. Or they strike down and say that's unconstitutional, but they do not rule. They only hold or strike down. I don't even know if strike down, I'm probably saying the wrong thing. I'm just a regular idiot. So in City of Lago Vista, Gail Atwater, they arrest her for not wearing her seatbelt. She goes to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court, in a 5-4 holding, 5-4, that means 5 Supreme Court personnel, don't call them justices, they are not worth respect. Okay, 5-4, they said that absolutely any infraction of the law in front of a police officer is arrestable, and it is not a violation of your 4th Amendment. That's Atwater versus City of Lago Vista in the year 2001. You never heard about that. 90% of you never heard about that. There's a reason why. They didn't want you to hear about that. Because that means, just so you know, if you spit gum on the sidewalk and a cop sees you and he says, hey, put your hands behind your back, you're under arrest, guess what? You're under arrest. Do not resist. Do not resist. Do not resist. Because if you resist, my friends, I'll tell a different story about you. Please do not resist. Follow the law. So now, what does that mean exactly? It's not a violation of your 4th Amendment. I said, the ruling said 5-4, the holding said that it is not a violation of your 4th Amendment for you to be arrested for not wearing a seatbelt or for spitting on the sidewalk or for walking across the street when the light's not green. So what does that mean specifically? That means that it's reasonable for you to be seized. You don't have a right to be secure in your person. You can be seized for any infraction of the law. That's Atwater versus City of Lago Vista. So what could go wrong from there? What could go wrong? Then simple white-collar crimes that you could just give a ticket to somebody for, Did you call? Hello, my dear. Let me finish this and then I'm going to say it's nice to meet you. So what that means then is that you can be arrested for absolutely anything. It does not matter. So 5-4, Atwater versus City of Lago Vista. And now let me ask you a question, friends. If you identify as a conservative or a liberal, bless you. I'm sorry. I don't identify. Independent. Was that 5 conservatives or 5 liberal Supreme Court personnel? What do you guys think? What do you think, my new friend? What do you think? Do you think it was...
I have no idea. Can you do a room reset and just let the people know what we're talking about here?
Sure. What do you guys think? Let them guess, and then I'll tell your audience the same thing. Okay. Liberal or conservative? Liberal or conservative? Okay. I'm not going to answer just yet. I'm going to give you guys a 30-second, my new friends, I'm going to give you guys a 30-second follow, okay? So my name is Chile DeCastro. I'm a Supreme Court scholar. All I do is study this crazy stuff. So in 2001, in a case called Atwater, Gail Atwater versus City of Lago Vista, here, 2001, right there. The Supreme Court held when Gail Atwater was arrested for not wearing her seatbelt, the Supreme Court held that you can be arrested for any infraction of the law. Doesn't matter what it is. And it's not a violation of your Fourth Amendment. Your Fourth Amendment holds that you have a right to be secure in your person against unreasonable seizures. You have that right. That you should not go to jail for something petty. Secure in your person. Unless I hurt another person and I've created a victim. Supported by oath or affirmation. That someone says, man, that chili guy, he victimized me. Oh man, I need to face the music for what I've done where I've created a victim. So what could possibly go wrong? And this is right where I was when you popped in. What could possibly go wrong from being the police being allowed to arrest you for any infraction of the law, including a crime that's a paper crime, where you're not a violent person, you're not hurting anybody. You've broken the law, shoplifting, for example. Or maybe, do you guys ever hear of this guy? His name was George Floyd. You ever heard of him? So George Floyd was arrested for being accused of a paper crime. He wasn't fighting anybody. There was no fist fight. He was arrested for a paper crime. He could have got a ticket. But my friends, in the 2001 case of Atwater, I'm sorry, I hit it with my stick too many times. In the case of Atwater versus the city of Lago Vista, the Supreme Court held that you can be arrested for any infraction of the law and even be accused without proof that that was a fake 20 meant that he was going to be drug off to the dungeon. And you know what? Can you believe it? George didn't want to go to the dungeon, and he slightly, ever so gently said, please, please, please. He was begging and crying. Please don't take me to the dungeon, sir. Please. He knew the guy. He'd known him for 20 years. He did not need to be drug off to a dungeon. But my friends, when the Supreme Court makes a holding, that lasts for decades and decades and decades. When the Supreme Court held in Cruikshank that you didn't have a right to life, my friends, that's why we have a lynching chart on the wall. That's why it exists. That's why it's there. It doesn't exist without an unelected body of Supreme Court personnel. If you're upset about Texas, the reason why you're upset about Texas is because the legislature, the Texas legislature, they said, yes, let's write an abortion ban bill. And then the governor, Abbott, he signed it. And then civil libertarians, people like me who know some stuff, everybody sent letters into the Supreme Court and said, yo, jurisprudence. You have some disgusting murder laws that stem from Terry. You respect the jurisprudence of Terry, but then you don't respect the jurisprudence of Roe. So the people are mad at the Supreme Court for not striking down the Senate Bill 8 that bans abortion. They have a job to do. They're not doing it. Their job is to make sure that everything is constitutional. If you guys want to know what I teach a lot, please go by my website. It's deletelaws.com with a Z, or my YouTube channel, Delete Laws. You will learn a lot. So,
You are stating facts, my friend. Are you nervous to voice an opinion like this, though? Because I'm sure there's many people on the internet that will come for you. Are you nervous about it, or no? How do you feel?
I've chosen my direction. What are you going to do? Look, everybody, you know where I'm at, guys. You know where I'm at. You want to come down, take a shot in me?
Don't tell
Go ahead.
That's not the best idea.
You make all my videos and everything I've done golden, and thousands of people have downloaded my videos. If you kill me, then it's for sure that it's Terry. By the way, I'm not suicidal or even close. I love life. I'm so happy, it's incredible. So I'm not suicidal, okay? So if you go to deletelaws.com, you will be able to, by the way, just so your viewers know, I give this wall graphic away 10 to 1. And I love giving it away because when we do march down this road to overturn Terry, when we marched on Washington and on the Supreme Court and we say, we want to elect the Supreme Court and we want to overturn Terry, 7 out of 10 of us don't have an extra $20. 7 out of 10 people don't have an extra $20 in America. They don't got it. It's just not in their budget. It's going to mess them up. It'll mess them up for the week. They got 20 bucks, but they're going to take their girlfriend out to the quick salad place. It's not much, but they get to take their girlfriend out to the quick salad place on Thursdays if they got that extra 20, 25 bucks in their pocket. So for me to teach you, it doesn't cost you anything other than registering on my website. DeleteLaws.com with a Z. All you have to do is register and say, Chili, send me that free book you got. Dude, free. Boom, here's the book. Just like that. Just like that. You want a copy of the wall? You want a copy of the wall graphic? Copy of the wall graphic? Do you want one? I'll send it to you too. Copy of the wall graphic? Just register on DeleteLaws.com and say, I want a free one, dude. I want a free one. I'll give it to you for free. Then you learn something. Then you learn something.
So my question is, with the abortion law that is in place, is there anything that can be done to overturn it at this point, or is it already kind of set?
No. Okay, so this is going to require a very quick understanding of civics. Civics means government structure. So here's how government structure works. So you guys know the basic structure is very simple. We vote for a Senate, a Congress. You vote for your House of Representatives, and you vote for your senator every 6 years. You're a member of your House, you vote every 4 years. Every state has representation. Then we vote for the President of the United States. And what these guys do is checks and balances on each other. These guys will write a law, and then the president will veto it and say, I'm not signing that. I'm not doing that. And then he'll say, rewrite it so I can sign it, so you can pass it. Okay? And it'll go the other way too. For example, the 13th Amendment, the legislature wrote the 13th Amendment to abolish slavery. They gave it to President Andrew Jackson. He vetoed it. They overrode him with 2/3 of the entire Congress to abolish slavery. This is what happened in the Texas legislature. They wrote a bill, Senate Bill 8, that bans women's right to choose, and the governor signed it. The Supreme Court, what their only functionality is to see if a law is constitutional. And what that means is, does it violate the human being's Bill of Rights? Not the government. The Supreme Court is in place to protect our Bill of Rights. Your right to life is fundamental. There's nothing more important. And by the way, what I just said earlier when I was going a million miles an hour is the First Amendment is your right to life, right? So in the Cruikshank case here, after the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment in 1865, 1868, and 1870, in the Cruikshank ruling in 1876, the Supreme Court held the constitutionality of Cruikshank, that the federal government didn't have to ensure your Bill of Rights. What did you say? What's the number one right? What was it? What's the number one right?
Your right to life.
Okay, everybody in the room, how many? What's your number one? What's number one? What is, you said it. Write it, type it. Right to life. Right to life. That's right. Your right to life.
Yeah.
So when the Supreme Court held the 9 people who we do not elect, we don't elect them. They're just chosen by the most elite, richest person who's the president. They said you don't have a right to your Bill of Rights. And then the very next year, we start the lynchings in America in the thousands every single year. The consequence of the Supreme Court holding that these guys can't, they said, man, people are racist. We can't enforce the Bill of Rights. Sorry about that. And so then millions and millions. So I'll give you another example. When the Supreme Court, the Morrison Waite Supreme Court, in the Reese case in 1876, they said, hey, can the states create barriers to voting? And the Supreme Court said, yeah, each state can put any kind of voting methods they want in. And so the state of Alabama changed the state constitution that said you have to pay taxes to vote, you have to have a literacy test, you can't have a criminal record. So they barred people from voting by setting up barriers to voting. Why did they do that? Because of the unelected Supreme Court. It's my belief that we should break the Supreme Court up into 6 different districts. And we elect 9 Supreme Court justices from each of the people in each 6 different districts so that they're then accountable to the people. and they run on a platform of how they will defend our civil liberties. Because the Supreme Court has worked against us since the beginning because they're unelected. You know that Congress I talked about earlier that everybody votes for? You vote for your senator? You didn't vote for your senator until the year 1913 with the 17th Amendment. Well then, wait a minute. How come you didn't vote for your senator before the year 1913? From 1776 until 1913, that's 150 years. How come they were appointed that whole time? And then in the year 1913, the Congress, who's elected, passes a bill that the president signs, and it amends the United States Constitution. Why would that happen? Because we have to elect senators because it's corrupt, because it's corrupted. How are things going? That's the prison chart. How are things going? Since Terry versus Ohio, how does it look for you? Looks pretty terrible. That's the prison chart. We start at 300,000 to 2.5 million since Terry versus Ohio. You don't have to be a genius. Could it, let me just ask everybody, could it be Terry versus Ohio? I mean, could it be Terry? I mean, is there a possibility? I mean, you know, I've only dedicated like 20 years to learning this stuff. Could it possibly Terry versus Ohio? Could it be that? Could it be the war on drugs? Is that what it could be? You're so pretty. I'm so glad that you called. Thanks a lot. I appreciate you calling. I'm super grateful.
Super. I mean, I've learned a lot, and I'm going to follow you because I'm going to check out your stuff because it's very fascinating and it's interesting, and I love that you're educating people because I think a lot of people need education today.
What do you do over there?
I make music.
Fantastic. Listen, all of my videos are open source. Feel free to grab any video you want, put music on it. I don't care. I don't care. You know? And I can't wait to be your friend. She's super pretty.
Got it.
Okay.
Oh, thank you. Well, thanks so much. I'll let you finish up with your people, but it was so nice speaking with you, and I hope to talk to you soon, okay? What was your name again? I'm sorry.
My name is Chili DeCastro. Chili
DeCastro.
Chili DeCastro.
Okay. Chili DeCastro. Hi, I'm Les.
A
Nice to meet
Les.
you.
Okay, nice to meet you, Les. Bye.
All right, bye.
Well, she was super nice, wasn't she? So now I had a lesson plan that I had put together that I was going to go down here that I wanted to have some specificity to. And if it's your first time here, guys, go to my YouTube page and watch those first 3 overturned Terrys. Go and learn something. Let me teach you. Any first timers in here too? Second timers? How many regulars? First timers, second timers, regulars. First timers, second timers, regulars. Just because the room's going to reset here. How many first timers? Who just got here? Who's been here for 5 seconds? Who's been here for 5 seconds? And I'm out of water. This being out of water thing has been a problem for me. First timers, regulars, me, first time, first. Just got here, cool, 3 times. Thank you for coming again. 5 seconds, first time. 5th hour. Hydrate, chili, guys. Cool. So first time regular. I love that there's a lot of first timers because I really want to teach you guys about Terry versus Ohio. It's the whole reason why I built this wall and the whole reason why I'm standing here today. You know, Sundays is my big day to try to promote Terry versus Ohio. You know, I haven't got enough requests for free books. I haven't got enough requests for free wall graphics. You know, I'm not trying to get money out of you people. I'm trying to teach you guys something. And some of you guys do buy the book, and fantastic, great, thanks. I haven't got enough requests for free books today. Not enough people have said to me, Chili, send me your book, dude. Not enough people. I need to give away more of these books today. I need to give you a free book. I need to give you a copy of my wall graphic today. You need to get one today. Don't worry about pulling your wallet out. Just get a free book from me today. Just take it from me. It took me months to create this stuff. Take it. It's right there on deletelaws.com. Just go to deletelaws.com and then write a comment, Chili, send me a free book, send me a free wall graphic. Some people will buy them. Thanks. Amazing. At the same time, I don't give a shit. I've not gotten enough free requests. Free requests come from people who don't have any money but still have a vote. Free requests. When someone says, I want a free book, that means that's someone who's a voter that just doesn't have any money. And I have not gotten enough people today who said, dude, give me a free book. I have not gotten enough people, meaning I have not reached enough voters. I've sold like 5 or 6 books today. Fantastic. I don't care. If I sold 6 books today, that means I need to have at least 60 people sending me a direct message through my website saying, send me a free book. That's my goal right now. I need 60 people, 70 people, especially people who don't have any money, but they still have a vote and they still are active voters. They're still attached to the political process. I need to give away 60, 70 books today. I need to give you a book. You don't have 20 bucks to spend? Awesome. You came to the channel where the guy's giving you shit. It's amazing. You need to learn it. You need to look through it. I need to give away more books today. Sold 6. I'm so grateful 6 people bought products from me today. Are you kidding me? That's amazing. I need to give away more books and more wall graphics today. That means I have not reached enough people. I talked to Tina Slay Richardson, Justice for Caleb, all morning this morning. I cried my eyes out today about her son being murdered by the police. It's so tragic. I'm not even going to talk about it. I'm just sensitive still. But I didn't focus on my Sunday on reaching you, the person who doesn't have 20 bucks but votes. That's who I'm looking for. You don't have 20 bucks, but you vote. Awesome. Let me give you some free literature. Let me show you what the Supreme Court has done to us. I need you. I need your vote. When we march, I need you in the street. We need to march against this crap system that penalizes the poor and people of color. I need the people who don't have any money to reach out to me and say, I want a free book. That's what I need to happen. I didn't get enough free book requests today. If I sold 6 books, I should have had 60 free book requests. The 6 people who bought books saw my YouTube channel or saw my Instagram stream and they bought a book. That means I haven't reached 60 people today. I need 60 people who say, I want a free book. That's what I need. For you. It's for you. It doesn't cost anything. It's free. You just registered on a website and you got a free book. It's that simple. It was that easy. Because then you're like, you know what? And then when you get this wall graphic, then I'm going to send you the update. But then I'm also going to send you, when I have your email address, I'm going to send you the Mullen Commission. And I'm going to send you the racist origins of gun control. So you learn that all gun control is racist. All gun legislation is racist. This is years of research compiled. I'm just going to give it to you so you learn it. Because once you learn it, you're going to go, this is bullshit. DeleteLaws.com right there, DeleteLaws.com. DeleteLaws.com. This session here, right here, I'm doing this session here now, is for you, for the people who do not have 20 bucks. You don't got 20 bucks, but you want a free ebook? Boom, you came to the right place. You want a wall graphic? I'm going to give you that too. Because it doesn't matter, you still vote. You still are like, you know what, I'm a part of the political process. And I'm not backing down, I'm taking this country back. That's what we have to be. You don't understand. You see this, you see the side of my hair? You see the side of my hair? You guys see that? You see the gray right there? You see the gray? Do you see the gray? The people my age, most of them are like, you want to do what, Chili? You want to make the Supreme Court electable and overturn Terry versus Ohio? Dude, you're never going to do that. You're never going to do that. Oh, really? I'm not. The kids are. The kids today. You think, let me ask you a question. Who do you think the freedom fighters of the 60s were? Who do you think the freedom fighters were? Teenagers. The freedom fighters of the 60s were teenage kids. And I say kids because I'm in my 40s. I don't mean that. I'm not trying to degrade teenagers. What I'm saying is the freedom fighters of the 60s were teenagers. Go to my YouTube page, Delete Laws, and go learn some stuff. Go learn some stuff on Delete Laws. Go learn some stuff. What's that? I sell an ebook. I don't sell a hard copy book yet. I do have one person who wanted a hard copy. I told her I'd print one out and send it to her, and then I lost her address because it doesn't go through my website. If it doesn't go through my website, I can't keep track of your address and your email. But cold coffee, baby. Cold coffee. Still rolling. Still rolling. So I just haven't reached enough people today. I've been really concerned with trying to make sure that this sheriff, you guys, did you guys see my last post? Which, by the way, I'm only 1,500 likes away from 1 million likes. And the 30th day I'm on TikTok is day after tomorrow. Is today the 19th? Tomorrow is the 30th day that I've been actively on TikTok. Tomorrow's the 30th day. So my YouTube page, yeah, Justice for Caleb. Delete Laws is my YouTube page. My website is Delete Laws, where you get the ebook and you get the wall graphic. And if you don't have any cash, you just bypass the shop part and you go to the comment part and you're like, Chili, you said you'd give me a free ebook, dude. And then boom, I email it to you so you learn some shit. What I specifically am giving you a free book for, the reason I'm giving you a free book is so that you'll read it to kids, so that you'll read it to children, because it's all cartoon. It's just big cartoons with a big explainer about what each case is. So it's a big cartoon so that a kid can look at it and go, oh, it's a human being. That's a person. Do you see that? It's a person. And this is about your Miranda rights. 1966 case of Miranda versus Arizona. You see that? And it's not just any person. His name's Ernesto Miranda. That was his name. Ernesto Miranda. That was Ernesto's name. He's a human being. You know, I mean, these are human beings. All these people are human beings. And all of them have been legally departed because of Supreme Court holdings. Because of what these guys did to us. And we didn't vote for them. And that's what I'm doing. What's up, Playboy? What are you doing, huh? What are you doing? What have you done? What are you doing? You know, I care about so much about this because, you know, I went through that no-knock raid and I lived. So I want you to. I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. I want to make sure. So we saw first-timers here. I went over Terry a little bit, but I want you guys to really truly understand what your Fourth Amendment right is. Now, everybody knows about your right to life, but it's funny, you know, and I haven't even made a video about this yet, but I'm going to make a video about this. I'm going to make a video about your Fourth Amendment right, and I'm going to read it to you guys. I'm going to read it with you together, and we're just going to stay really strong on this Fourth Amendment. I'll fix the lighting here. Ooh, there we go. There we go. So you see what this is? This says, I'm going to pop this a little tighter. There we go. So this says that this is the right of the people. This is your right. This is your right. That you have this right to be secure in their person. So it's the right of the people to be secure in their person, houses, papers, and their effects. I just want to be clear. This is your right. And this right came to you from your Creator, whatever that Creator is. Against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall be issued but upon probable cause. Do you see? So if no warrant, you know what a warrant is, right? Everybody knows what a warrant is. God, I know what a warrant is, I'll tell you that. A warrant is when you get a warrant for your arrest. That's what a warrant means. They can't change the meaning of the word warrant. It always means warrant, right? If there's a warrant for you, you know it. So if you have a warrant and no warrant shall be issued but upon probable cause is when you broke the law then. This is where a law has been broken by you. That's what that means. You see? So now it says, and no warrant issued but upon probable cause, and then it says here, supported by an oath or affirmation. This means the victim that you created. This is the victim that you created. A warrant's issued because you broke the law, and there's the victim supporting that you broke the law by their oath or affirmation of you. and particularly describing. So not only can a warrant be issued because you broke the law, but then it's got to be supported by oath, and then it's got to particularly describe the place to be searched and the person or things to be seized. Do you see what this means? This is about creating victims by breaking the law. No warrant can be issued but upon probable cause. This is the most important document for you and me, because it says here to be secure in your person. And now let's pop in real tight here, just for, it's all going to make sense still. You're just not going to see one half of it. But it's still all going to make perfect sense. It'll all still make perfect sense. Ready? And I'm just going to read these first words over here on the side over here. And I'm just going to skip the other words. So now it's about you. This is about you. The right of the people to be secure in their person against unreasonable searches and seizures. That right there, my friends, the idea that you can be secure and you're not going to be searched and you're not going to be seized, this is what the founding fathers of our country wanted for you and me. They wanted you and me to have the right of us, all of us, to be able to assemble, and during that assembly, we would be secure in our person, safe from government grabbing us. Safe, safe. You're safe in your person. I don't have to fear if someone comes behind me in a police car. If the police come here, I feel secure because the police are here to make sure that I feel secure in my person. And it's against the police to unreasonably search or seize me. The police, the specific, the Fourth Amendment, where it says against unreasonable searches and seizures, this is a notice to government. This is a notice to the United States government that your Fourth Amendment right, a right of the people given to you by God, is to be secure in your person. And hey, government, against unreasonable searches and seizures. This is a notice to the government. We have these rights inalienable given to us by God. You see, now you understand what your Fourth Amendment really truly means. You have the right to not be searched or seized. This lasted until 1968. In 1963, John Terry was standing on the side of the road on Euclid Avenue, downtown Cleveland, Ohio, on Halloween Day at 2 o'clock. And Martin McFadden ran over and seized him. And that was in 1963. This case, where the cops seized him, the reason why it's such a big deal is because of that Fourth Amendment I just read to you. John Terry has a right to stand on Euclid Avenue. He has a right to mill around. He has a right to look in store windows. To be honest with you, he has a right to case the joint, to case it and check it out and see what their security looks like and how it works and the whole thing, and figure out how everything works and look at and try to figure out every little detail of how everything works. He has the right to do that. He's free. But Martin McFadden runs over and grabs him. That's the entire crux of the Terry v. Ohio case. That's it right there. He had a right to be free. So now that Fourth Amendment thing that I just read to you, the thing given to us by God that gives notice to the government that these people have the right not to be searched or seized, that one right there, that lasted until his trial, until John Terry's trial. And that trial would take place in 1967, December 12th, 1967. But then the case, the holding, the announcement would come on June 10th of 1968. And the Terry v. Ohio holding would then focus on that word of against unreasonable searches and seizures. Okay? Against unreasonable. And so they say here, the Supreme Court, the people who we don't elect, they say that it's reasonable for police to run up and grab you, grab a hold of you, squeeze you tight, put you on your belly, put handcuffs on you, do everything inhumane that one person can do to another human being outside of the boundaries of No, they can do anything they want to you. In the name of officer safety. That's the holding. That officer safety is paramount. It's paramount. There's nothing more important than officer safety. That's what the holding of Terry is. And then the second thing is, because we've been going through this civil rights movement right here, because this has been going on right here, then they say that if a cop who is in fear for his life, everything's about officer safety, that he can run over and grab me because he's afraid that I have a gun. This is exactly what happened to John Terry. You can't mistake it any better. I'm so sorry. The mirroring, it messes me up every time I tell you guys this. Martin McFadden runs over and grabs John Terry, and God damn it, I'm so sorry, guys. Can't figure this fucking thing out. There we go. McFadden runs over and he grabs John Terry, and he violated his rights right then and there. But because John Terry had a gun on him, then that, of course, proved the suspicion that he wasn't mentally ill and just walking around like a mentally ill person who doesn't have medication would do. We don't see that every day now, do we? Yes, we do. He was actually mentally ill. He would be put in an insane asylum after this case for the rest of his life. He would die in an insane asylum. He was crazy. He was mentally ill. I'm not making fun of crazy people. But then when the cop grabbed him, then what happened after this case right here in 63? In 68, the Supreme Court said that everybody can be grabbed by police in the name of officer safety. That's the whole thing. And then if officer safety is in question, I mean, I went this over. Tennessee versus Garner says that police cannot shoot you in the back as you run away unless it's in the name of officer safety. It says so right here. The holding right there, that's what the holding actually says. Cops cannot shoot you in the back when you run away. You have a First Amendment right to life. That's unconstitutional for a cop to shoot you in the back when you run away unless it's for officer safety. That's what it says. And then in Wilson versus Arkansas, it says that police cannot no-knock raid your home because, you remember, I read this to you. It's just the same thing as I was popped in tight right here, to be secure in their person. Houses. So you have the right to be secure in your person. Houses, papers, and effects. This is your dog, your phone, your briefcase, your effects. But the home one right here, the home one is the big one, right? The home one's the big one. You got a right to be secure in your home. Wilson versus Arkansas says. They uphold that. They say, you're right. American people do have the right to be secure in their home. There is a Fourth Amendment right to uphold here. And the Supreme Court, they uphold that right. And they say that police, they cannot no-knock raid your home. You have a Fourth Amendment right, okay? You can't do that. Unless it's in the name of officer safety, and then they can no-knock raid your house. You can't have a gun. You can't be free of cruel and unusual punishment because cuffs are torture. You can't drive in your car because of Wren. Wren says you can't go in your car, or cops can pull you over because they're suspicious of your car. The Supreme Court said you can't smoke weed in Gonzalez versus Reich. Anything is arrestable in Atwater versus City of Lago Vista. Castle Rock versus Gonzalez says cops don't have to protect you. Shelby County versus Holder says that Alabama can put in barriers to voting, like you can't get water in line and stuff like that. All kinds of weird shit. U.S. versus Morrison is about the Violence Against Women's Act that Scalia votes against. But then he votes to criminalize marijuana in Gonzalez versus Reich in 2005. Total hypocrite. Citizens United. Do you think the citizens were united to give corporations all the power in our elections? Do you think the citizens united for that? Or do you think maybe that they created a group and they called it Citizens United? And then the Supreme Court said, yeah, let's let corporations put as much money as they want into elections. How's that worked out for you and me? How's that going? How's it going for us? How's it going for you and me? How are things? How are things for us? Culture's great, right? That drug problem, the health crisis, gone. Since we criminalized drugs, alcohol in the 1920s, we criminalized drugs in the 1970s. Since we've done that, man, American culture is just soaring. We're the talk of the world. How great America is. Land of the free, home of the brave. And then some people can't figure out why other people, I'm not one of those people, I love this country, I'm going to fight for this country, and I'm going to get our rights back. But some people have really negative things to say about America. I wonder why that is. Because when you search the history of the laws, could it be, maybe, possibly, that the laws were passed specifically against different races? I mean, could that be? You think that could be? That couldn't be, right? That's hyperbole, right? Like, that guy's full of shit. They were all passed against different races? All the laws were passed? Come on, bro. Don't bullshit me, dude. Come on, man. This guy sat there and stood up in front of 1,000 people and said how the laws were written against races, not like some holy and just. You know, I used to walk around for years and say, the Supreme Court said they're the greatest. The Supreme Court, they are masters. They are the greatest. They said this about the Constitution. The Supreme Court's amazing. But then you go, okay. The Dred Scott holding right there, this is in 1857. 1776, all men are created equal. Bill of Rights, Constitution. And then just 75 years later in Dred Scott, black guy, not against a white guy, black guys are property. Okay, cool. So then after that, Civil War shiznits, and then 5 years of 7 years of Reconstruction where white people actually give a shit about helping black people. And then right here, the Supreme Court says, the Supreme Court are just and holy monarchs, are just and holy kings. They have shouted down from mountain high. They were appointed from Oxford, Yale, and Harvard, and they were appointed to us to tell us how we are to live our lives. You cannot be pro-choice no longer. They have professed this to us. So then in Cruikshank, they say, those rights from 1776, you know how you passed those amendments right there? Nah. Federal government can't enforce these. Federal government can't enforce these. I guess you're fucked. I guess you are. Then they go to the Supreme Court about a black guy and a white girl living together. Supreme Court, the men of Oxford and Yale and Harvard, they go, you know what? Black and white people living together, burn them! And they leave them in prison, prosecute them, and then they tell all the white people, black people and white people are not allowed to cohabitate together. Whammy! There it is, right there. Wah, 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 wah. I saw the neighbor, I thought he had this black girl over there. Hang him! Okay. That began the real series of white lynchings. So, Reese is against people, unless the state creates, all this says, if are you just trying to find race in everything? Because Reese is not a racist ruling. Reese says that the states can create whatever kind of different rules they want for their voting procedures. That's not racist, okay? That's not racist. So the states can create any kind of rules they want, and all citizens in that state have to pass them. You can't say that's a racist holding. That's all. Fair enough? The states wouldn't be racist in how they do that. Come on. Southern states, right after Civil War, they would never do that. Oh, you mean Rutherford B. Hayes? You mean Rutherford B. Hayes right here? You mean this president right here, this guy right here? He's going to be bought. He's going to be bought out. In what year? 1877. He's going to be bought. This guy right here. He says he's a Republican, but really he was not a Republican. He was not. He was not on the side of black people. He said he was by saying he was Republican, but he wasn't. And what did he do exactly? How come I'm pointing him out, Rutherford B. Hayes? Why? Anybody? Why? How come I'm pointing him out? Because Rutherford B. Hayes then, when it's a tie, because the Southerners are cheating, Rutherford B. Hayes is then installed as president with a backroom deal that you're going to pull the Northern troops out of the South, right? Like, we're going to give you the presidency, but then you're going to pull the troops, right? And Rutherford's like, I could do that. And then what's going to happen after they pull the troops out of the South? What's going to happen through the 1880s and 90s? It's going to be the worst lynchings in the history of America. Those are not happy bars. Those are not fun times. These are bad. These are really bad. You see? I don't know what you're saying, brother. You're talking some dog shit, dude. I'm talking about specifics, my friend. If you guys learned anything, go to deletelaws.com, my website. Get a copy of my wall graphic. Get a copy of my ebook. I'll give it to you for nothing. If you just register and say, Chilla, give it to me for free, I'll give it to you for free. Some of you can buy them if you got the money. Thanks. But that's the important part. If you learn anything and you want to buy me a cup of coffee, there's my cup of coffee, Venmo and Cash App. There it is. If you learned anything, there it is. Venmo, Cash App. Cup of coffee. Don't be silly. Nothing more. Don't go nuts. Don't go nuts. Don't go nuts. Today was a pretty good lecture, I felt. And I'm not done. I still have more to say. I don't have any water. Okay. Who's still here? Anybody still here? Who's still here? We've been on for an hour and a half. I had a guest on for a little while. Who's still here? Who's still here? You still here? Tell me you're still here. You still here? How long you been here? First time, second time? Where are you guys at? Where's everybody from? Where is everybody from? I mean, some of you guys were like, you know what? I'm going to take them up on his free book offer, right? Some of you guys did that, right? I want you guys to do that. I really do. It'll really make me feel like I've contributed something to your life today, and that'll make me feel good. Oklahoma, Oregon, where you at? North Carolina? North Carolina, come on and raise up. Take your shirt off, whip it around your head like a helicopter. North Carolina, come on and raise up. You guys know that song? This one's for who? This one's for who? Us, 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 us. Cali, baby. Alabama. A lot of people in the South watch, huh? A lot of people in the South. A lot of people in the South. First time, second time? Alaska. I'm from Alaska. First time, second time, third time here? How many times have you been here? Because we're going to move to the next lecture. Next lecture. Next lecture. Ooh. Are you ready? Okay. Regular, third time, first time, Florida first, Georgia. Canada, 10th time. Dude, God bless you. Thank you for coming 10 times. Thank you. I hope you're talking to your friends about overturning Terry versus Ohio. Oh, okay. So now let's proceed. So I talk about how Terry is so pervasive. And so you start to say to yourself, man, if I'm right, if you say, I went to this guy's thing, he had this website, he built this big graphic. At first I just thought Pepe Silva, and then I was like, you know what? I started to listen to the guy and he started to say some stuff like, okay. If Terry is so brutal, why is it so brutal? Let's take a step back and thank you, I appreciate that. You can always, if you're not interested, by the way, I hit your For You page, you hold your thumb down and then you just put not interested, and then I won't pop up on your page again, brother. If you're interested, then cool, learn something about Terry versus Ohio. So right here, Terry's gonna pass right here. But then you say to yourself, you're like, man, why is Terry such a brutal, like inhumane thing? Why did it create such a monstrous prison system? And the reason is because Terry versus Ohio is based on common law. And when I first read this description of common law, I really thought it would be necessary that if you guys were going to learn about common law, that you absolutely had to see these words. Because when you see the words, it's just so unbelievable. You're like, is that really the definition of common law? Is that really the definition? I'm gonna decline that just because I want to show some people some stuff right now. Someone just tried to call in and I just declined it. So here's the actual words of common law. Let's zoom in on that, okay? Let me zoom in on that. Let me just pop it in there for you. Now you guys read that, okay? Take your time here and just read it. Common law, sorry about that, it'll stop shaking in a second. Common law called Anglo-American law, the body of customary law based upon judicial decisions and embodied in reports of decided cases that has been administered by the common law courts of England since the Middle Ages. From it has evolved this type of, and it goes on, but then I'm like, okay, well, let's get specific. How do you guys, for who are writing this, how do you guys define Middle Ages? That's what I really wanted to know. And so then I got into Middle Ages, and it says the period in European history, sorry about that, guys. The period in European history from the collapse of the Roman civilization in the 5th century to the period of the Renaissance, variously interpreted to the beginning of the 13th, 14th, or 15th century, depending on the region. So what the fudge, right? This is why, and this Kerr versus California is the basis of Terry versus Ohio. And so what common law skips is it's a difference between substantive law and common law. And the difference between substantive law and common law is vast. Substantive rights are basic human rights possessed by people in an ordered society and include rights guaranteed by natural law. You always hear me talk about natural law. And what that is substantive rights evolve into the right of substance of being human. Life, liberty, happiness. I talk about this all the time. Rather than a right to a procedure to enforce that right, which is defined by procedural law. Substantive rights are contrasted with procedural rights. Okay, now do you understand what I just read to you? What I just read to you was what Terry versus Ohio does. It's based on a procedural law that officer safety and every protocol created around officer safety is based on the procedures of common law, that officer safety is the most important element in the dealings with you. That's what that is. Basing your interaction with an agent of the government that their safety is the most prevalent and the predominant and the premier and the first and the prime objective in interacting with an American citizen or a non-American citizen. If the police motto is whatever it takes for me to go home safe to my family, and believe you me, that's what the police, believe you me, I don't ever say that. Anyway, believe me when I tell you, believe you me, what the fuck? Anyway, believe me when I tell you, if you ever take a ride along or you ever go and sit down with police officers, they will tell you that the motto of police is not protect and serve. It is literally whatever it takes for you to go home safe at the end of your shift. Well, when you take that motto and you repeat that over and over and over, when you couple officer safety with whatever it takes for me to go home safe at the end of my shift, well, then that would mean that if police officers are civil servants, the standard of care for that service is going to dramatically drop when the premier factor of interacting with an agent from the government is going to be their safety over your life. And that's why you'll always hear a police officer say, you can't do that because of officer safety. Officer safety is a way to circumvent any and all rights you have. Now, the reason why that flows so easily, the reason why that sloughed over so simple in 1968, number one is because we didn't have any leadership in government. Lyndon Johnson, he wasn't born he didn't win the presidency. Lyndon Johnson backed into the presidency after John F. Kennedy was shot in the face in broad daylight in Dallas, Texas. Maybe you heard of it. So Lyndon Johnson was president in 1968. He was elected after Kennedy was shot the second time. But what I'm trying to get to here is explaining that Lyndon Johnson wasn't first elected president. You either win the ticket or you don't. Lyndon Johnson didn't win the ticket. He was the number 2 beta guy who then got the presidency when JFK was assassinated. That makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? So when Terry v. Ohio was passed, remember what Lyndon Johnson's true goal was and what the truth of what the country was bending towards. Who's going to be president after Lyndon Johnson? Nixon. Okay? So when Richard Nixon's going to come into the presidency, the temperament of the country is going to vote in a Republican. Now, at this point, the Democrats and Republicans are going to switch poles. Whoop! Right? When Lyndon Johnson's going to switch, everybody's going to go from a Democrat to a Republican to a Democrat. And then right here, when Nixon comes in, the temperament of the country, remember, if you're voting for Dick Nixon, You know, they're still using the N-word on Magnum PI. I know, I saw it when I was a real little kid. Oh, Magnum PI is 69, so that Magnum PI was like 70s, late 70s, early 80s. Could have been as early as the early 80s, but 69, believe me, man, watch some footage. America's not a non-racist country in 69, not even close. And we're in a war, and Nixon comes in, and so the temperament of the country is what? So what's the temperament of the country? If Lyndon Johnson is coming out, just think about this. When Obama was coming out, when George Bush was coming out second term, when Bill Clinton was coming out second term, if you're a Gen Xer, what's the temperament of the country when the president's leaving on the second term? Whatever his policies and whatever his administration, what their cannons were aimed at, the people of America are ready for change after 8 years, pretty much. So now in 68, when Lyndon Johnson, and this is cultural analysis, this isn't simple. So this is going to let you flavor of understanding what happened. Lyndon Johnson Nixon's going to come in as president in 69. So 68, Terry v. Ohio's passed. That means the country is moving toward an authoritarian. An authoritarian is voted in. A warmongering authoritarian criminal named Richard Nixon. History does not lie with my assessment. Really, a piece of shit. So what's going on in our country is the civil rights era is going on. And Dick Nixon, he can't get a handle on he calls them blacks. He can't get a handle on blacks, is what Nixon says. That's how he says it. I'm not trying to be rude to black people. And John Ehrlichman will say the reason why Dick Nixon declares war on drugs is so that he can get a handle on blacks. That's what's written in the Harper Bazaar magazine that I've read. And so he says that in 98. So we know he declared war on drugs to get black people. That's why Dick Nixon did it. And to arrest hippies who were anti-war. That's what happened here. That's the truth. That's the real story of the war on drugs. And then, just so you know, in 1970, John Marshall, he's gonna draft the 1970 Controlled Substance Act. You know who he is? Marshall. He is the Attorney General for who? For Dick Nixon. And you've heard of the 1970s Controlled Substance Act? This is law today. This is the Controlled Substance Act. The same laws on the books today were written. John Mitchell. I'm so sorry. William Mitchell. I'm not that bright. But William Mitchell, John Mitchell, I can't remember his frickin' name. He was the Attorney General for Dick Nixon, all right? That's who he was. He wrote the 1970 Substance Act all by himself sitting in a room. Look it up, I'm not kidding. He sat there and wrote it himself. He typed this in, sat with another attorney, and they decided the most authoritarian rulings, punishments they could, and they created the 1970 Substance Control Act. How do you like that? This guy, white supremacist, you have no idea. I look him up, look up his life. I can't go into everything. But here's the point. So now as you come down the line, I forgot exactly where I was. So what I was talking about was that Lyndon Johnson didn't do anything about Terry versus Ohio because then they passed the Gun Control Act. Remember how the Gun Control Act is going to be signed. This is the 1968 it's called the 1968 Omnibus Crime Bill. That's what it's called. And within the 1968 Omnibus Crime Bill is the Gun Control Act. And the Gun Control Act, remember how a Gun Control Act is passed. What's the temperament of the country? What's the flavor, the mood of the country? The legislators have written a bill called the Gun Control Act or the Omnibus Bill, the Omnibus 1968 Crime Bill. Within it is the 1968 Gun Control Act. This man, who is the President of the United States, named Lyndon Johnson, is going to have to sign that act, and he does. The Supreme Court does not hold it unconstitutional to have a gun control act in legislation. The Supreme Court, their primary function, their only function, the job they took for themselves in Marbury versus Madison and in Martin versus Hunter's-Lacey, their job is to defend our civil liberties. I'm going to start hitting the wall. I'm going to start hitting the wall. I'm going to start hitting the wall. I'm going to get upset. I better calm down. My OCD is going to kick in. I better calm down. I better calm down. Do you guys have my book yet? Did you guys get my book? Or you get a copy of this wall graphic? It's on deletelaws.com. With a Z. Sorry about that stick, but I want to show you guys where Terry starts. Go to deletelaws.com, get my book, get my wall graphic. Get a copy of it. If you don't have any money, don't worry about it. I give it away for free. I have not given enough free away today, so I'd love to give a lot away, as many as I possibly can. So if you want one, please get one. I would love to give you a free wall graphic. If you go to deletelaws.com and register, if you go to deletelaws.com and you register, I'll give you a free one. No problem. Would love to. Would love to. Would love to. Would absolutely love to. It would be my pleasure. I would feel really good like I contributed to your life a little bit if you were like, man, you know what? And if you buy one, by the way, if you buy one of my wall graphics or ebooks, I follow up with an email with everything you didn't buy, plus the commissions, plus the racist origins of gun control, because all the information is free that I have. I give it away all the time, constantly. I just want you guys to learn this shit. I want you guys to learn this shit. I really do. Really matters to me. For those of you who bought it and you think that you could have got it for free and you didn't, you're supporting me, and I'm grateful. I'm super grateful. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Really. Really, it means a lot. Means a lot. Means a lot. Last sales thing, and I'm gonna go right back to teaching. If you want to buy me a cup of coffee, there's my Venmo, my Cash App. You could buy me a cup of coffee. There it is. Cup of coffee. That's it. Don't go crazy. 1 cup of coffee here. Thanks. I appreciate it. I appreciate you. I appreciate your support. I appreciate your support. I do this every day. I'm gonna keep doing it. So now right here, so here, there's gonna be a trifecta of things happen here to understand the cultural analysis of exactly why our country is so completely fucked and why we have this gigantuous prison system that is just absolutely out of control. You say to yourself, man, what in the world could have happened that would make, so let me just ask a question of everybody real quick. There's a couple hundred people in here. So just, let me ask a question to people. So you guys can see the Terry stick. It's pointing up at Terry v. Ohio. Everybody can see that, okay? Let me just ask you guys a question. You can see this giant graph right here like this. Do you think people became more criminal? Do you think people became more degraded? I hope that's a word. I sometimes use stupid words that don't make any sense because I think I'm smart, but really I'm only half smart. So what do you think happened right here? Do you think people became more criminal? Hey, take care of yourself. Thanks for coming by. I appreciate you coming by, brother. Thank you for watching. God bless you, brother. Take care. So do you think people became more criminal? Do you think people became... You do? You think people became more criminal? You think in 1968 people were like, you know what? I think I'm going to become more criminal. Is that what you think? Is that what you think? Cash crop. I mean, I need some feedback, guys. I mean, I literally only work until the sun sets. I just keep teaching and teaching and teaching until the sun sets. So we got about 15 minutes left before I've got to go, because this light in my eyes only lasts for about 15, 20 minutes, and then my eyes go and I'm done and I'm over 40, so I got to go to bed. I'm on old man time over here, folks. Just living the dream, living the dream. There we go. Okay, so how many people said that you get more criminal? Do you think that you get more criminal? Do you think in 68 people got more criminal? Terry v. Ohio's here. Do you think people became more criminal? Is that what you think? Is that what you think? I just want to know. I just want to know from the people watching. You know what I'm saying? Who cares what anybody else thinks? I only care what you guys think right now. So just tell me. So I'll give you guys a clue, right? People did not become more criminal. They did not. People are wonderful, right? And I'll give you guys a philosophy. So in the beginning, there was Jean-Jacques Rousseau. This man right here, you see a picture of him on the wall up there? He's up there in the corner. Do you see him? He's right up there. He's right there. You see him? Here's a picture of him on top of a building, right? I put him on top of this building, and I called this the Rousseau building, right? And Jean-Jacques Rousseau is this like the most beautiful philosopher you'll ever read. If you ever read Jean-Jacques Rousseau, you'll be so grateful. Because he says that all mankind is this beautiful, amazing human being that's born perfect. And the fact that you have to be forced to seek out food, shelter, and warmth is enough to make man criminal. And that's that man is not born with morality. Morality is a social construct. Much like some people believe some things are social constructs, he said that morality is a social construct. So do you put that together in your head, that our society has created a social, morality as a social construct, that you're born absolutely perfect, and that society forces you into morality, That's Jean-Jacques Rousseau. Look him up, JeanJacquesRousseau, and just look up his quotes. Because you're not going to read all of his philosophy. You're busy, I get it. So, but look up his quotes and look him up. Beautiful human being. Absolutely beautiful human being. So let me stay focused on this starting off point over here. Let me just grab this right here real quick. That's Clayton Kramer. Let me go with this one right here. So the thing is somebody, I was DMing with somebody earlier A woman was DMing with me earlier. She'd sent me a couple requests about what my stances were on the Second Amendment. And so when you get to these rights right here, these are the rights that are granted to us by God. I don't care if you don't believe in God or not. I'm not particularly religious, to be honest with you. But that doesn't matter. What I'm saying to you, though, is 85% of people in the world believe in God. Atheists are one of the fastest growing groups. I don't think it's quite that high anymore. That was when I was a kid. That was in the 90s and 2000s. But now, a lot of people believe in God. Anyway, the point is that this Bill of Rights that we have, it's constructed as though it was given to us by God. That these people up here, that they become greedy and corrupt, and so we set this bar, this standard. And if the people ever saw that any corruption or greed was happening, that we would see this, and then we would tell these people, and we would change our government. That's the whole idea of our constitutional rights. And so then when you really get into research and reading, which obviously you're not going to be able to read these from where you guys are sitting, but this is The Racist Origins of Gun Control. This is by Steve Eckwall, and this is by Clayton E. Kramer. I've read them both 3 or 4 times because I just go over and I read them again and I read them again. I have learning disabilities, and I have ADD, ADHD, and I have OCD, and I have all these things. I can be distracted. A video can pull me off, and I stopped reading half the page as I was listening to a video in the background. I take in a lot of data by listening to a video as I read. So often, sometimes my brain goes into one or the other, but I can often get a lot of the data at the same time. Just depends. So anyway, what I'm trying to say is when you read The Racist Origins of Gun Control, what you'll begin to find, and it's not, by the way, it's not a deep read. This is The Racist Origins of Gun Control. I sent off maybe 100 copies this week to different people, and that's the thick side. The normal side is that right there. That's how thick The Racist Origins of Gun Control is. That's how easy the read is. And by the way, the Steve Eckwall one, this one is Steve Eckwall. I mean, you can't read it, and it's going to be hard for me to read it with the light dimming and it getting dark right now. But it says right here, I can just kind of paraphrase it. It says, this is in no way indirect. This is directly in your face, that every single piece of gun legislation ever written is based on racism. And then what Steve does, which, by the way, I would love to find him one day because I've referred his PDF to literally thousands of people. Right away in Steve's PDF, it goes right into the black codes. I mean, it goes like, so the very first, I'm sorry, excuse me. I'm chugging coffee because I'm out of water, but I only have till the light sets and then I'm done for Sunday. So this one, it starts off with the 1648 Virginia race-based total gun ban. In 1648, there was a race-based total gun ban. So 1648, what was the big controversy? Whether 1619 was the actual year when slavery started in America? There was a big controversy over that. Okay, fine. I know that in 1648, which would have been roughly 30 years after 1619, that Virginia had a total race-based gun ban. And then in 1712, Virginia, and then in 1712, South Carolina, and then in 1792, a total race-based gun ban. The Second Amendment is ratified in 1791. 1792, blacks are excluded from the militia of the Second Amendment. Do you understand that? So let me give you the two back and forth. The two back and forth. How are you guys doing? How's everybody doing? Oh, you got the PDF? I sent it to you, right? I've sent it off to lots and lots of people. It's a real easy read, by the way. It's kind of fun because it's only a few pages of black codes. And when you read the black codes, wow, these are really super interesting. That they actually wrote down laws like this against another human being, saying that their race wasn't capable of having this. So. And then in the Second Amendment's ratified 1791, which, by the way, all the amendments are ratified just right after 1789. That's when the court gets set, the Supreme Court gets set in 1789, and that's going to be your John Jay Court, 1789. And the John Jay Court is only 1789 to 1800, and then John Marshall comes in the next year just like a hurricane. And he's like, I'm the leader of the Supreme Court. And then most of the Supreme Court stuff that happens is done by John Marshall and John Adams' presidency. They completely stole all the power for the Supreme Court. They really, really did. So the Second Amendment here is ratified 1791, And then in 1792, so you got the Second Amendment that's going to pass, and everybody knows about the Second Amendment, it's the right to bear arms, right? I mean, this isn't rocket science, right? And that's going to be right there in your Bill of Rights. It's going to be written in 1776. Supreme Court in 1789 is going to be set, and then in 1791, your Second Amendment is going to be ratified. And then in 1792, it's going to say blacks are excluded from the militia, i.e. law-abiding males thus instilled with the right to own a gun. Uniform Militia Act of 1792 called for the enrollment of every free white-blooded male. Every free white-blooded male had to enroll for the militias. So follow what this, now just for the cultural context, for you to understand the flavor, the taste of what's going on in the culture. 1791, the Second Amendment is ratified. Now the big fight going on here, and I told you that John Adams and John Marshall, they're going to be the two gigantic figureheads that are going to set the power for the Supreme Court that they have today. And what's going to happen right here, 1791, you're going to ratify the Second Amendment. And then in 1792, because the states, 1792, remember, slavery's not abolished till 1865. Slavery's not abolished till here. So right back here, when you're living right here and you're looking at 1791, where the Second Amendment is ratified, now people can legally, and they have a right to bear arms at all costs. Right here in 1792 is when there's a call to all white men that mandatory that they have to join the militia. And why do they have to join the militia? Because back in the late 1700s and the late 18th century, what you're going to have is everybody reads everything. So when the Second Amendment's going to be ratified here in 1791, and that's going to go out to all the state representatives, they're going to put it on a press and send it out to everybody. Because this literature back then, remember, we're still, it's pretty chaotic. There's horses and buggies and people are shitting in outhouses. Like, this is not like a real Enlightenment period here. You're talking about real savagery here. Remember, the Civil War is fought with one gun and then you punch each other out till the other one dies. So that's what the time period we're living in right here. So 1791, Second Amendment, 1792, there's a call for all white men to join the militia. Because the Second Amendment says that the militia all states have the right to have the militia. So that means that every state doesn't want the federal government to come in and take over their state, because back then every state was like its own country. For you to go from state to state, you could die. I drive to Arizona to Vegas all the time. I could die if I want to go to Arizona or Vegas. So then in 1792, all white men have to sign up for the militia and then provide himself with a musket or firelock, and bayonet, and ammunition. Georgetown Law, Journal, 86. The Second Amendment towards Afro-Americanists, that's what it says here, I'm sorry. It says, the Second Amendment toward an Afro-Americanist reconstruction, Robert Cottrell and Raymond Diamond. So this is, at this point, black people cannot join the militia. That's what it says. And then in 1806, complete gun and self-defense ban for slaves. So okay. Let me help you with something here. So when you read The Racist Origins of Gun Control by Steve Eckwell, he just breaks it down into black codes. And then this one here says that you have to be complete gun ban and self-defense ban for slaves. Black Code Channel 33, Section 19. Provide that a slave was denied the use of firearms and all other offensive weapons, which would include what? A knife, a hatchet, a bow and arrow, a sling, all those things that they used in the 18th century. So now, I'm sorry, the 19th century, because this is the year 1806. So the 1800s are the 19th century, just so you know, because there's the 0 to 100 is listed as the first century, and then the 101 to 199 is listed as the second century. Just so you know. I think it's a very confusing way to list things, so that's why I say the 1800s or the 1700s typically. But when you talk about the 1700s, you're talking about the 18th century. So in the late 18th century, when you hear that, I think it's very confusing. So now what it says here is that there's a total gun ban for slaves for American Afrikaners is what it says, which I find just absolutely incredible that they're going to say something like that. But remember, the Bill of Rights, right? One of the fundamental principles of the United States of America, the reason why you could come to America, right, was the Second Amendment right to bear arms for all citizens. That's the reason, the founding principle of our documentation. So when you get a document that says that you don't have the right to self-defense, the fundamental principle of the Second Amendment is all man has the right to self-defense, to self-preservation. I think that's the founding principle doctrine, is the right to self-preservation. I think that's the original founding documentation ideology, is that, and then that's going to adapt as time goes, with the musket as the game changer for European men around the world. The musket is the game changer. The reason why there's European dominance around the world today is because of the invention of the musket, just so you know. That's why the right to self-protection, written by John Locke in Natural Law Theory, is gonna include the right to self-protection, and that's why the Second Amendment is going to evolve from the right of self-protection by philosophy into the right to bear arms by the Second Amendment. Because that's the reason why Anglo-Saxon males have dominated the world, because of the very first invention of the musket. And that's the reason why the Second Amendment is supposed to protect you and I to have the same weapons as the United States government. That's the whole idea of the Second Amendment. So that we have a way to resist tyrannical rule, whatever that rule may be, like being forced to take a global medication or something like that. So those are the reasons why we have the Second Amendment. You know, just to be totally clear, you know. So that's why when you talk about the racist origins of gun control by Steve Eckwall, I'm more than willing to send this over to you. It's a very, very simple, easy read. It's a very easy read, and it's fun to read the Black Codes. It's actually fun to read the Black Codes. Like I remember reading this, but I don't remember reading Afro-Americanist. Afro-Americanist. The Black Code listed black people as an Afro-Americanist. I don't know what that is exactly. I just think it's disgustingly rude. You know, I just think it's just, you know, like Afro-Americanist. Like, who the fuck are you? You immigrant yourself. You colonizer. You know, and so I talked about that the other day a little bit. I went into the origins of what the word colonizer actually means. Because a lot of people will say the term, like, who knows what the word colonizer actually means? Because I did a deep dive on it for a few days, actually. I went all the way down the rabbit hole. I actually pulled up all my research, and I was going to do a video showing you guys the research to understand what a colonizer means. And then I realized that I fall asleep in the middle of pulling all the research together. So I thought to myself, if I fell asleep putting the research together to show them what the research is to discover what a colonizer is, then they're certainly going to be bored as hell if I sit here and lay out, here's the research to find out what a colonizer is. Does anybody know what a colonizer is? Can you actually define what a colonizer is? And specifically why people would be distraught with the Christian religion, with the Pope himself? Anybody? Anybody? Can anybody? Can anybody? Oh, by the way, guys, I'm so sorry. It's Sunday. Listen, I got to move as many ebooks and wall graphics as possible. I don't care if that's free or you buy it. I don't give a flying poo. I don't care. You go to deletelaws.com, be like, dude, I don't got 20 bucks. It's free. I got to move 60 or 100 of these today. I need to educate 60 or 100 people today. I don't give a shit if you buy it. Don't care. Thanks if you do. Don't care. Would love to give it to you for free if that's the situation. Let's do it. If you're flush, hit me up, baby. $20 me, baby. I've sold 6 today so far. I've sold 6, the combination of ebooks and wall graphics today. That's how many I've sold today. So if that's great, but I did not get 60 orders for free ones. I did not get 60 people to say, give me a free one. That didn't happen. And that has to happen. I need to give more of these away today. More people need to say, I want a free book. More people need to say, I want a free graphic. This wall graphic is badass. 6-foot wall graphic people, man, it's coming this week. I'm fucking stoked, baby. I am fucking stoked. So then when people start to talk to me about Second Amendment and they say, what's your gun stance? I say, look, it's the same stance I have on Roe versus Wade. which is the same stance I have on being forced to take a global medication, which is the same stance I have on unenumerated rights, which is the same stance I have on your right to due process and not to incriminate yourself by speaking to police, which is the same stance I have against cruel and unusual punishment, all of our 10 amendments. The stance that I hold on the Second Amendment is that you and I, the only true freedom that you and I have ever been gifted to experience, was written by the Bill of Rights. That is the only thing that freed black people, that freed Asian people, that freed Filipino people, because they were prisoners of the American Empire for a very long time. And if we don't come together in respecting that Bill of Rights, I fear that we will face a tyrannical state very soon. If we start to pit against one another based on whether or not you carry the right paperwork, I'm very afraid of that day. Have empathy for others. Take your time. Talk slowly. Don't be so ready to rush to losing your composure over what others are doing. We have to respect our Bill of Rights. I'm very concerned about this rush to push the government to be in control of us. I'm very concerned about what I'm seeing. I very rarely go on to the media and I read it. But this idea that you would cheer on the government to be in total control of us, to dictate what we do with our bodies, Roe v. Wade or global medication, that to me is some of the most morbid things that if you didn't know, my other channel is called Chile de Castro 1984, based off of a book I read when I was in junior high school called 1984. Very, very scary. Very, very scary. So if you in any way, shape, or form want to go against our civil liberties or diminish our civil rights in any way at all whatsoever, I would invite you to a conversation through registering on the website and having a back and forth about, in any way, shape, or form, endorsing the government being in total control of us. I think you should really rethink that. Because you and I, the human race, we will live on. You and I will live on. Say, for example, right now that the Black Plague was to hit us. The Black Plague was deadly and was deadly, killed a lot of people, like a third of the population of the world or something like that. Some crazy number. Don't quote me on that, but that's some crazy number. People lived on. The human race lived on. What won't live on is our rights. Once government takes rights away from you, it never stops. Once the government takes the right, look what happened with DUI checkpoints. The 1990 case of Sitz versus Michigan State Police. This is the case that allows DUI checkpoints. This case right here. If you run from the DUI checkpoint and the police think you're armed, they can shoot you in the back of the head. If you run from the DUI checkpoint and you go home, the police can no-knock raid your home. You have to be checked by the police. If you go into the DUI funnel and you turn off, you'll be pulled over. You'll be subjected to government tests. If you don't agree to the tests, then you'll go to jail immediately. You'll lose your license automatically for not agreeing to a government test. Are you sure that's what you want? Mothers Against Drunk Driving. Are you sure that's what you wanted? I believe if you interviewed every woman who was on Mother Against Drunk Driving from 1985 until 1990 when Michigan State Police passed, I believe half or more would probably regret their decision, because Michigan State Police doesn't solve drunk driving. This is what allows DUI checkpoints. DUI checkpoints do not solve drunk driving. However, DUI checkpoints are now driver's license checkpoints. They're now state line checkpoints. They're now border checkpoints. And I do understand some border checkpoints because we do have to have a border. I'm for a national country. I'm pro that we have borders. But as long as we're inside the United States border, I shouldn't have to pull over and be subjected to testing by the government. And if I don't agree to that testing, then I get taken to a dungeon. I just interviewed a friend of mine named Sean Antonio. He was in a bad accident. They breath tested him and it was 0. They still suspected him of drunk driving. They arrested him and charged him with drunk driving, and he was prosecuted for drunk driving. He blew on the breath test, and it came back 0. This allows DUI checkpoints. How's it working out? How's those DUI checkpoints working out? Who loves them? Who loves a DUI checkpoint? Just real quick. Just tell me. Who loves a DUI checkpoint? How many people are like, a DUI checkpoint? Yes. How many people love DUI checkpoints? Just go ahead and type it out there for me. How many people love DUI checkpoints? Just will you please type it for me? Pretty please, with sugar and cherry on top. I've had a very slow day as far as the things I typically do. I mostly talked about a poor dead kid named Caleb, and I actually edited that video. So who loves a DUI checkpoint? Does anybody here go, oh, you know what? There's a DUI checkpoint up there, Dad, brother, Tom, boyfriend, girlfriend. Look up there, there's a DUI checkpoint. And does your significant other, does your friend go, awesome, let's go through that DUI checkpoint. Let's go right through there. Because I love pulling up to a government agent and him saying, roll your window down. And me saying, no. I don't roll my window down. You kidding me? Now they can order me out of the car because of Pennsylvania versus Mims, but it has to be a lawful stop first. That's where the slippery slope is, where we can get our rights back. If you get pulled over in a DUI checkpoint, just so you know, it's not a lawful traffic stop. You don't have to, in any way, shape, or form, to comply to anything at all whatsoever. 0. You're going to go to jail. You're going to have to fight that. You're going to have to go through the process of them putting you in cuffs and throwing you on the ground and taking you to a dungeon, impounding your car. But if you believe in principle enough, if you have it on tape, and they order you out of the car, and you say it's not a lawful order, and then you get forced out of the car, that is a violation of your rights. And they're going to go back and say, Michigan State Police says that we have a right to do this. And judicial review would say this is unconstitutional. You can't funnel me into a checkpoint. You can't funnel me into a checkpoint. You can't funnel me in where I then have to answer questions to police. That's what Michigan State Police does. SITS versus Michigan State Police. Why should I have to pull into a checkpoint and answer questions to police? I'm driving fine. They want to pull me over to see if maybe maybe you're not okay. Maybe you're not okay, bro. Maybe you're not okay. Follow my pin. Where you been tonight? Where you going? Is that a taillight out? Do you have a warrant for your arrest? That's what it's really about. That's what it's really about. It's not about your safety. This isn't about your safety. This is about creating a total police state. That's what this is. That's what this is. How many first-timers here? How many first-timers, second-timers, third-timers? Regulars, first-timers, third-timers, regulars? First-timers, second-timers, regulars? Hey, Jardina, I don't really talk about that on this channel. I want to talk about constitutionality, baby. I appreciate you coming by, though. Thank you coming by. I appreciate it. If you guys have not gone by my website and picked up a graphic, pick up an ebook, pick up a wall graphic. I have an exact replica of this wall graphic. Go by my website and get a wall graphic. Go by my YouTube page, Delete Laws. This is my YouTube page, Delete Laws. Delete Laws. That YouTube page. Go by there and watch those first 3 videos called Overturn Terry. See my shirt? Overturn Terry? The first 3 videos called Overturn Terry. There's 3 videos on my YouTube page called Overturn Terry. Go buy those first 3 videos right there on Delete Law's YouTube page. If you can afford $20, buy one. Doesn't matter. Because if you can't afford one, register. Get one for free. Get it for free. What's up, Playboy? What's up, Playboy? What's up, Playboy? What's up, Playboy? So those of you who are still with me, we're going to have to take a walk real quick down to the cooler because I can't, I won't be able to speak. I'm not going to cut off, though, because I have a lot more to say. I wrote out a lot of stuff today. There's a lot of things to go over because of how much absolute crap and controversy is going on in our world. I actually would take a bong rip right now, but unfortunately, you're not allowed to take a bong rip on TikTok. You can't TikTok Rick Rock a bong rip. That's against the rules, I guess. I didn't know that. So this is my office. Obviously on Sundays. I'm pretty much the only one here on Sundays. But you know what? I've been wanting to, I really want to teach a lot today. I typically don't teach this late, but the thing is that I have not got it all out today. I wrote a lot to teach today, and I interviewed this morning. You guys look this up, Justice for Caleb. I interviewed Tina this morning, and then after our interview, I was so riveted by it that instead of when I usually shoot during the day, I shoot live during the day on one of my 3 channels on TikTok here. instead of doing that, I actually edited the video, the Tina Slay Richardson video. What's up, Playboy? I'm ready, Travis. I'm ready to smoke a joint, I'll tell you that. I know you can't burn one on here, so I can't burn one with you guys on the thing. But yeah, I just didn't do what I was supposed to do on Sunday. I stayed focused on something else today. On Saturday and Sunday, I got to stay focused on trying to get information out to as many people as I possibly can. That's why I added that girl's call earlier. Get the information out to as many people, especially the youth, because the youth aren't stuck in the mud. They don't believe that this is it. This is all we get. You live in this environment and that's all you get. That's not what the youth think. The youth are like, forget this shit. We're changing it. That's why I made the ebook animated. I didn't make it for you. I made it so that you would read it to a kid. That's why I made the ebook animated. That's why I put the same thing when you see the results of Supreme Court cases. This is my office here. Here we are, boom, boom. And this is West Hollywood today. This is West Hollywood tonight. It was an absolutely gorgeous day, and I literally just stayed completely in front of my computer or in front of this camera. I didn't do anything else. I didn't even go to the gym today. I went to the gym 2 days in a row, and I'm so sore. My hip hurts so bad. I'm so sore right now, you have no idea. Like, I'm so sore. So now, this time period right here, this is going to be the time period, just so you guys know, right? It's not just Terry. I mean, don't get me wrong. It is Terry for sure. But this time period here, you know, you could actually go back a little further. You could go back to 54 maybe, when black people are finally freed. But truthfully, you just start in 68. This is the beginning of the end of freedom in the United States of America from 1968 until 1982. This time period right here, this is going to end liberty. You're going to end all of your rights. And the way your rights are going to be ended, you guys know about Terry, where cops can grab you and be suspicious of you, and then the Gun Control Act is going to end your right to carry a gun. And then as you move forward right here, in 1971, I'm sorry, it's not 72, Richard Nixon's going to declare war on drugs. And so there's going to be something that's going to be cultural, that's going to happen here in the United States of America that the government isn't going to anticipate, and also that the culture of the people isn't going to anticipate. When Nixon declares war on drugs in 1971, what he's not going to account for is that when you incentivize police departments, and the way they get their funding is going to be based on how many arrests they get for drugs, you're going to then create like this football team mentality where it's X's and O's, and how many people can we arrest for drugs, because we're going to get more money from Nixon if we have more drug arrests. So this is going to incentivize the police departments of the United States of America to focus on getting as many drug arrests as they possibly can. And this time period, so now look what happened here. We went from the Civil Rights Act in 1964, where we're having a slight reduction in the prison industry. That's 64. And then just 68, just 4 years later, Terry v. Ohio, this one says that no state or federal or even business can discriminate against you based on race. And then in 68, Terry v. Ohio says that police, a state agency, can be suspicious of you just based if the cop is suspicious of you. That's it. So it just takes 4 years for you to completely lose all sight of liberty. It's history repeating itself. I don't want to walk down there, but you guys already saw the Cruikshank thing earlier. So now right here, 68, cops can grab you. You can't carry a gun. Now we're going to criminalize all chemicals in 1971. I mean, you're going to create, and then the thing is with Nixon is he's going to create that incentivization program for police officers to arrest people for marijuana. It's really, actually, just so you guys know, it's a war on marijuana. This is a war on marijuana, and it's specifically put in place by the 1961 Single Convention on Narcotic Drugs, right here. This is how the war on drugs began. And the reason why the war on drugs, you see what's funny, is as I explain the prison system, I'm not sure if you guys noticed this or not, but as I explain the prison system, And I've been doing this for 3 months now. This is going to be, which by the way, you guys, I'm going to hit 1 million likes today. You guys, after I hang up here, please go to my videos and hit like. I'm going to hit 1 million likes today, which is pretty exciting. So if you notice, I'm always drifting backwards. I'm trying to explain to you how we have this absolutely gigantuous prison system over here moving into 2021 where you're talking about 2.5 million people locked up in a dungeon. And then the way I start to explain it, I go from Reagan, who creates a for-profit prison, and then I go back to Nixon. And now to explain how we really got to the prison system, I have to go back even further. I have to take another step back in time to understand how we truly got to this monumental prison system. Monumental. I don't think you monument a prison system. I think that's the wrong word. This atrocious prison system, I guess you could say. So when we go back at the single convention on narcotic drugs, you know, this is where Harry Anslinger, and remember, Harry's working 100% for capitalism. He says it's because of racism that he hates black people and he hates Mexican people, and he doesn't like either one of them, and Harry wants to make sure that black people and Mexicans get locked in jails. But the truth is they don't really get locked in jails, very many. He just targets the celebrities of the black community and anybody who could be a leader in the black community, to be honest. Because the prison system isn't showing that we're locking up that many people. We are locking up a lot of black people for drugs, for heroin and marijuana, but really he's doing this because of his capitalistic ties to fossil fuels and to pharmaceuticals. And so this begins in the 1930s after Harry's a prosecutor and he sees that the prison system's developed after the Italians and Irish go to jail, because you don't hang Italian and Irish. So that's why the prison system's developed, because you can't hang those white people. So then from right here, when you pop up here, when black people are freed in 1954, this really doesn't have anything to do necessarily with the war on drugs. This has more to do, for Harry, is what I'm speaking about. This means different things. So this doesn't have to do, the war on drugs and Harry's pressure for marijuana and opioids to be criminalized. What this has to do with is the power to make sure that cannabis can't in any way, shape, or form compete with the fossil fuel industry or the pharmaceutical industry. And so now at the single convention on narcotics drugs, that's where Harry's going to have his mea culpa, and he's going to internationally criminalize cannabis so that it absolutely cannot compete with fossil fuels or pharmaceuticals. And so then at this point, this is going to set the stage. This one right here, this year, 1961. It's going to set the stage for the entire penal system that we live within today. This year, 1961. And so then I'm gonna blast forward a few years here. So we're gonna blast forward here, and now we're up here. And remember, I said that there's always some sort of collateral damage for creating something where you're going to incentivize a group of police officers that their budget is going to be dependent and enhanced based on creating drug arrests. And so what's going to happen here is you're going to create so many drugs. I'm sorry, let me adjust the camera for you guys just ever so slightly. So what's going to happen here is because there's an incentivization program that Nixon has created for people to arrest other human beings for drugs, the prison industry is going to rise so rapidly, so quickly, that you're going to have this gigantic crowding of the prison system to the point where you're creating this claustrophobic Lord of the Flies environment, because you have a lot of people who weren't criminal before there was a war on drugs, but now because they've been caught smoking marijuana, and police get incentivization by locking people up for smoking marijuana, even a joint. And so now when you enter into the prison system, and this is going to begin in 71, and the prison system is going to fly up until 1980. And so what's going to be the exact, there's a cause-effect. Cause-effect. So when the prison system takes a jump from the war on drugs in 1971, by 1980, the prison system has done something that it's never done before. It's become more than industrial. You know, we went from here, from 350,000 people in prison, where you're looking at 1980, where there's double the amount. So you've doubled the prison population from 1971 until 1980. That's a lot of people, my friends. That's a lot of people. So when you stack up people who've been locked up, half of them are locked up for drugs and they don't consider themselves criminal, and the other half are locked up for whatever they're locked up for. But either way, the prisons themselves, now follow this, this is really important that you are able to understand the conceptual analysis. So there's so many people in prison that it's become this really violent place. So now, are you familiar with the maximum security prisons now, where they have all these chains and bars and cages and all these things? The reason why that happened, and the reason why these prisons are now absolute dungeons and like fortresses of pain and crushingness, is because when the prison industry doubles here from 71 to 80, what happens is this becomes a violent place where people are fighting and guards are hurting people and inmates are fighting because they're stacked on top of each other. That's why. And you have this process of what happens to a man when he goes to a dungeon, right? And so when you look at this on a grander scale, then in the 1980 case of Johnson versus Glick, so what happens in the 1980 case? I gave you a fact here about that the prison industry is going to double right here and that there's going to be a cause and effect. What is the effect of the prison industry being so jammed up with so many hundreds of, because now you went from 350,000 people to 700, 800,000 people in prison. What happened? What's the effect? We see the cause is the war on drugs, and now what's going to be the effect of crowding hundreds of thousands of men on top of each other? It's going to become a violent place, and now they're going to dub this idea that if you go to a dungeon, that they should create this massive facility with guns and cages and bars and protocols to hurt people. That's how it's gone. And so if you were in this dungeon, it got violent, so that's exactly what happened. In the 1980 case of Johnson versus Glick here. So in 1980, Australia Johnson, right here, do you see how there is a red line going down from Johnson versus Glick? That has a signification. There's a reason why. It's a significant thing. This red line going down from Johnson versus Glick, a 1980 case. But remember what's happened from 1971 when John Mitchell wrote the Controlled Substance Act and they declared war on drugs. From 72 up to 80, you crowded the prisons, you've doubled them up, and we didn't have the capacity to double up people in prison. So then Johnson versus Glick is where Australia Johnson, a black man, Australia Johnson sues Warden Glick, a white man. And what happens here is when Australia Johnson gets, when he falls down the stairs, when he says that the guards beat the hell out of him to where he was almost dead, when he sues Glick, when it goes to the Supreme Court, to the William Rehnquist court right here, when it goes to this court right here, they say that Johnson can't file a civil rights suit. That the guards, Glick, Warden Glick and the guards, they were just keeping order. So just remember that, my friends. If you go to a dungeon in America, you cannot file a 1983. A 1983 is a civil rights violation against you. So if you get put in the dungeon in the United States, just be well aware, jail or prison. If you get into a toss-up with the guards, the 1980 case of Johnson versus Glick said that you cannot file a civil rights violation against those guards. How well did Sandra Bland's family do? Right? Sandra Bland hung herself in jail. Right. Transparency. We got the videotapes. We could all see it happened. Right? Is that what happened? Or they've created this dungeon system and we're never going to be free. Go by my website, you guys. I got some books and some wall graphics. Go ahead and get those out. Go to that website right there. Register on that website. Get a wall graphic. Get a wall graphic and get an ebook. Let me zoom in. There's my Venmo and my Cash App. If you learn a lot of shit from me and you're like, you know what? This motherfucker is worth a cup of coffee. Take a screenshot of that. You can buy me a cup of coffee and I super appreciate it. Thanks so much. Really appreciate it. And by the way, drop your email if you do buy me a cup of coffee so that I can shoot you back the information that I haven't given enough away today. I have not. I'm telling you. I wish I could have reached more people today. But I did edit the Tina Slay video now so that I can put it online tomorrow morning on Monday. If you guys haven't been over to Sheriff Jim Arnott's Facebook page, can you guys pop by Jim Arnott's Facebook page and go ahead and put, don't be mean to him, don't be rude to him, but can you type on there Justice for Caleb? Can you do that for me? JusticeForCaleb.com. Go to Jim Arnott's page on Facebook, Jim Arnott. Jim Arnott, the sheriff of Shittsville County, Missouri. And can you put on his page justiceforcaleb.com? Please don't be rude to him. Please don't be rude to him. Pretty please. If you haven't noticed, some of my regulars, some people who are justiceforcaleb.com, that's right, Manny. Some of the people who are moderators for me, who've been sticking around, hanging out with me since June, right? They'll notice that my verbiage has changed. I now don't use any sort of slurs in any way, shape, or form. Unless I'm reading history about black people, and then there's all kinds of slurs. And what did we learn today in the Black Codes? We learned an Afro-Americanist. There's another slur that was written. An Afro-Americanist. I mean, in which way, in how many ways can you be insulting? It's just like so rude, so rude, so rude. Yeah, Pepe Silva. That's right. That's Pepe Silva. Do you think Pepe was on anything? Do you guys think Pepe was on anything? I'm just curious. Do you guys think Pepe Silva was on anything? I mean, I saw the Pepe Silva thing. I looked it up. Yeah, if we don't elect the Supreme Court, guys, we're in big trouble. Yeah, Arnott, Jim Arnott. Don't be rude to him. Just put www.justiceforcaleb all over his page. He's an elected public servant, so he doesn't have the right to ignore us. We are the public. We have a right to tell Jim Arnott that we want him to look into Caleb's murder. That Caleb was murdered by someone, and there's an eyewitness who has not been interviewed by the police or by the FBI. And it was a DEA agent who killed Caleb, who murdered him on a Terry stop. The same thing I teach about every day. So Caleb is from a white family who has law enforcement background, formerly Back the Blue, formerly they're still a Republican conservative family, and Caleb was shot and killed, shot in the back of the head. Caleb was shot in the back of the head, right there. So for me, as someone who's an activist, I see Caleb as a great white buffalo. Caleb is the way we end Terry. Because sadly, that's the way the country goes. And I hate to say that to you guys. I'm not trying to be disgusting. But I just know history. That things here didn't change. Nothing here changed, just so you know. So you guys know when the last lynching was? Do you guys know the last KKK killing on record? Does anybody know the last KKK killing on record? Does anybody, it's C-A-L-E-B, by the way, it's not K, it's Justice, the number 4, and then Caleb, C-A-L-E-B, and that sheriff's name is Jim Arnott. Does anybody know the last civil rights killing in the South, that in Alabama, where the civil rights killings came to an end? Does anybody know, but the last civil rights killing? Does anybody know what that was? Anybody? Jim C. Arnott on Facebook, that's right. Pop by his page if you guys would, and drop him a message, Justice for Caleb. Please don't be rude to Jim. He's an elected official. We're gonna vote him out if he doesn't seek out the investigation on Caleb. We're gonna vote him out, that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna follow the law. We're gonna follow legislation. We're gonna create legislation, and we're gonna. So when was the last civil rights killing in Alabama? How about that? When was the last civil rights killing in Alabama? When was that? Can anybody tell me the last civil rights killing in the state of Alabama? When was that? Can't moment on his page. That's great. Go by Jim's page. That's great. So the last civil rights killing that we can trace back, just so you guys know, that's historically listed. So remember, you guys may have other people who've been murdered in the South that you certainly consider a civil rights killing. I'm not negating your feeling or your perspective. I'm just telling you historically, throughout the history of understanding civil rights era events, this is something that I learned that I thought was probably one of the most interesting facts, and I wanted to share it with you guys today. I've shared this a few times before. If this is on YouTube or on Instagram and you're watching this, I've probably shared this before, you've seen it before. But what was it? I'm sorry, does anybody know the last one where things changed in the state of Alabama? There's a particular name. There's a particular name. Does anybody know the name? Just say yes or no, just so I know that people are actually listening and I'm not talking to people as they fall asleep, which is a very popular thing to do on TikTok. No, I don't know. No, I don't know. No, I don't know. I don't mind telling you guys. I just wanted to see. I just wanted a barometer. Believe me, man, in your area of study, I am a total nincompoop. So I just happen to know some stuff in this particular area of study, but I certainly don't know everything, and I make mistakes all the time. So I'm going to zoom in just a little bit here, right here, and I'm going to go to the year 1965. So if you guys don't know this or not, throughout the history of time, all the way back, if you go way back to the beginning of time, right? There was not a single black person who saw their murder prosecuted. So these three little black girls right here, they would have their murders prosecuted 14 years later and 15 years later, but not at that time, just so you know. And so right here in the year 1965, let me put my stick down right here so I can just use my hands. I'm super close with this close-up. So all kinds of things are going on here. I mean, as you guys may well know, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, was killed by the NYPD and the FBI. And this man is not a cop. He's the nephew of the cop who found the letter, turned in the letter that his uncle wrote that said that he had infiltrated Malcolm X's group, convinced them to break the law, to perform violence, and they arrested his security, and then they murdered him in that ballroom in 1963. So, in 1965. 1963? No, 65. It was 65 because I'm sorry, the year's right here. I'm tired. So anyway, here's the point. So he's murdered in 1965, and they know now that his uncle was an NYPD officer, and they set him up to be murdered when he agreed to break the law. When he agreed to break the law, they arrested his security detail and they murdered him. When Malcolm X agreed to break the law, they arrested him, his security detail. And then when he went to give a speech, he was murdered. He was executed by the FBI and the NYPD. But he agreed to break the law. Follow me? Okay. So now right here, this happens, but his killers, they don't get him. And so now right here in 1965, this guy right here, his name is Willie Brewster. His name is Willie Brewster, and he lives in Alabama. He lives in Anniston, Alabama. Willie Brewster. Williebrewster. Willie Brewster. This Willie Brewster guy right here, he's a gregarious guy that people like, and he is driving down the road in his car in Anniston, Alabama, just driving down the road, and a guy shoots him from the side of the road. He doesn't know him. He's never met him. Never saw him face to face. Never once. Just a guy who was in the KKK who hated black people, and so he shot Willie Brewster from the side of the road. Now, Anniston, Alabama is a pretty small place, but what's really unique about this story is Anniston, Alabama had the Anniston Star newspaper. And the Anniston Star newspaper is a classic. And it just shut down with COVID, by the way, from 2019, 2020. In 2020, the Anniston Star newspaper, for the first time in the history, went dark since they opened. I don't know, they were around for 100 and some years. And so Willie Brewster gets shot in the back as he's driving down the road with a couple of friends. He gets shot in the back. They pull over and they get him to the hospital, and 2 days later, Willie Brewster dies for just driving down the road. And this doctor right here, Dr. T.C. Donald, a conservative who was a Democrat, and if you don't know, I guess in 65 he was a Republican, because 64 is when the great switch of political parties happened. So he would have been a Republican in 1965, living in the South in Alabama, and a doctor. And so when he goes to the hospital and he sits and suffers for 2 days for just driving down the road, and he's a very gregarious, likable guy in the community, Dr. T.C. Donald gets on the phone, calls up all of his conservative friends in Anniston, Alabama, and said, "This is bullshit. This kid was just murdered, and he's a nice guy." And so he puts his name in the newspaper, in the Anniston Star newspaper. And when he puts his name in the Anniston Star newspaper, 200 other prominent white conservatives join Dr. T.C. Donald and say, "We will put up $20,000 for the killer of Willie Brewster," because he died in the hospital. And so they find the killer. His name was Darren Strange. Darren Strange. Strange name for a strange guy who was a member of the KKK. And so when they find Darren Strange, for the first time in the history of all the lynchings in America, all the people killed during the Civil Rights Movement, everything. This is 1965. No black man has ever seen the white guy who killed his cousin, brother, uncle, lover, best friend, mother, never seen him prosecuted. And for the first time in the history of the United States of America, Willie Brewster's murderer is prosecuted. And he's found guilty. However, in the state of Alabama, it's still an old boy, white boy league in the year of 1965. May still be, I don't know. I don't live in Alabama. Maybe there's nice people there. I don't know. I'm not racist anymore. I don't know. Anyway, so then right here, when Willie Brewster, he's dead, but from heaven he sees Darren Strange prosecuted. And then what happens is Darren Strange appeals to that classic old boys network and says, hey, I'm going to appeal this because I didn't, I'm innocent. And so then Darren Strange gets out on appeal. And then Darren Strange 3 months later gets in a fight with his mechanic because he's a piece of shit, Darren Strange is. And then he gets shot in the face and he dies. So Willie, while his killer was convicted, now the first person who will see justice, that their case will be prosecuted, is Lemuel Penn. Lemuel Penn is going to be executed in 1964, World War II veteran. And he, I think, was he a Vietnam veteran? I can't remember. He's a veteran of the war, though. And he comes back from war, and Lemuel Penn is pulled over when he's driving back. I think it's from South Carolina, and he's driving from South Carolina to Washington. At Georgia, he's driving back from Georgia. That's what he's doing. He's got a couple army buddies, and Lemuel Penn is going to drive back from, they're celebrating, man. They just got back from the war, and they're free, and they're back in America, and now 64, Civil Rights Act has been passed. I think it's like 11 days after the Civil Rights Act passed, he decides that he's going to drive back to D.C. with a couple war buddies, and no, he doesn't make it out of town. On his way out of town, he's pulled over by members of the KKK. He's executed on the side of the road. And because it's a group of men, a group of men in the United States have never been prosecuted in the history of our country for conspiracy to murder. Darren Strange was prosecuted for murder, but Lemuel Penn's case is different because these men are going to be federally prosecuted under conspiracy to commit murder because they colluded together to chase him down, pull him over. And they say the police pulled him over, and then the KKK came in and killed him. So Lemuel Penn, so then what happens is, because now remember, if the way the Supreme Court works and the way the federal court works is it's all based on jurisprudence. So if there's not a case that predates the case that they want to do, conspiracy to commit murder for a black man, that's never happened. And so they can't just prosecute it. That's not how it works. I'm sorry. That's not the way the Supreme Court works. So they have to then go to the Supreme Court in the case called U.S. versus Guest, which is going to then give the authority to the federal government to prosecute a group of white men for conspiracy to commit murder. Before this has never happened. All those years of KKK, all those years of white supremacy, all those years of white sheets, all those years of burning a cross in your yard, there had never been conspiracy to commit murder ever convicted of any group of white men ever. As a matter of fact, let me take it, oh shit, I dropped my stick. As a matter of fact, let me take it a step further. Here's how bad that conspiracy to commit murder had never been charged. Here's how negative that is. Here's what a downer that is, okay? The 15th Amendment is going to pass in 1870. Now, if you go back to 1869, 1870, Ulysses Grant is the President of the United States. And Ulysses Grant, he's not a bad guy, but he really cannot control the white supremacy in America. He just can't control it. And so Ulysses Grant, he's president in 1869. If he's president in 1869, remember, the 15th Amendment had to start off as legislation and then signed by the president. So Ulysses Grant signs the 15th Amendment that gives black men over 21 the right to vote. And so then Ulysses Grant, knowing that the KKK, that he cannot control them, with the 15th Amendment, he passes the 1870 Enforcement Act that says that the Enforcement Act literally lists the KKK, that says the KKK cannot murder black people to suppress their vote. That's what the Enforcement Act of 1870 says, that accompanies the 15th Amendment. So, in 1873, this red line going straight down, I'm sorry I covered it with some badges right here, this red line going straight down right here, whoop, there it is. And the reason why it's all the way down there is because I was trying to signify this is where 160 white people were lynched in 1884, but right back here in 1873, this is where 150 to 200 black people were lynched and murdered. The KKK had violated the 1870 Enforcement Act by murdering all those black people in Colfax, Louisiana. That's what happened in 1873. That's a fact. It's a historical fact. I'm not making this up. We know at least 150 were murdered. We don't know the real numbers. Some say it's over 250. I'm not going to exaggerate. It doesn't matter. Say it's 100. Is that enough people to be murdered? So remember, when you murder 150 people in 1873, it's a bunch of you. It's a bunch of you killing them. This is more than me, right? I wouldn't get through killing 150 people, neither would you. It would take you all year. So that's got to be a bunch of people killing all those people in 1873. So of course, to get order in any society where you create roving killers of people, you have to get order. And so eventually order does come to fruition after a few weeks. Oh, by the way, it's far worse. It's a far worse story than I'm letting you know here. They kill all those people, and then what they do is the people who fled to the woods, they then take those people and put them in concentration camps, saying that they colluded together with the people who had voted to create the Republican Party that was in charge of Louisiana, and they had formed the other party that was the Democratic Party that was competing with the Republican Party for the governance of the state of Louisiana. So, the people who escaped, the 150, 200 people who were not lynched, they were put in concentration camps. And a concentration camp, once again, for people who have never joined my channel before, a concentration camp is where you take a large group of people who could be dispersed and you concentrate them into one group, and then you re-educate those people. And you know what re-education means. Re-education means torture and beatings and all the things awful that could happen to you, gas chambers, showers, things like that. That's what a concentration camp is. So in 1873, after all those people were murdered, all the women and children ran into the woods because they mostly hung black men. And then after that, when they took those women and they put them in a concentration camp, and everything bad that can happen to you if you're a woman happened to those women put in the concentration camps in 1873. So then, of course, order takes over because we are a nation based on laws. The 10th Amendment lists all the federal laws. And so then right here, we go to court in 1876. And what's the court case called? It should be what? Conspiracy to commit murder. Because conspiracy to commit murder didn't happen until the 1965 case of United States versus Guest. So then in 1876, surely after 150 people are lynched and murdered, and then all those people are put in concentration camps and the worst thing happened to them, the 1876 Supreme Court case hearing of Cruikshank versus the United States is against those men who did the KKK killings of 150 people. So surely that's going to be conspiracy to commit murder, isn't it? No. They're charged with violating the 1870 Enforcement Act. They're not charged with murder. They're not charged with murdering 150 people and then EPRA-ing a bunch of women and children. No, friends. They're charged with violating the 1870 Enforcement Act, and they're found not guilty. And the Cruikshank holding is that the federal government cannot ensure your civil liberties. Your rights to life, your 15th Amendment, your 13th, 14th, and then that all hell breaks loose. So the fact that that Lemuel Penn is going to be the first gentleman who's ever going to see justice in a way that you could be federally charged with conspiracy to commit murder, we know that should have happened in the year 1873. So, the green bars here, they look similar to the green bars down there because these civil rights acts here, the 1964 Civil Rights Act. The 1964 Civil Rights Act right here, right? You see it? I'm sorry, that's the Voting Rights Act. This is the 1964 Civil Rights Act right here. This case, the 64 Civil Rights Act, remember the Cruikshank case I just talked about? This act right here is what overrules the Cruikshank case. Do you understand that? This Civil Rights Act of 1964, right here, written by John F. Kennedy, where he gets shot in the face for writing it. He doesn't even get the chance to sign it because he's murdered. Lyndon Johnson signs it. You all know this. The functionality of the 1964 Civil Rights Act is it overrules Cruikshank. What does Cruikshank do? The Supreme Court says that the federal government cannot enforce your civil liberties. They can't do it. Sorry. And this is right after your 13th, 14th, and 15th. What this actually says is Reconstruction is over. The racial experiment failed. Black people are going to be second-class citizens, and that's the way it's going to go. Because if we can't assure your civil liberties, your right to life, then you are going to be executed. So this goes on all the way until 1964. It doesn't get better. It doesn't get better. I'm going to get excited. Let me calm down. Okay. After those amendments back there, 13th, 14th, and 15th are passed, it doesn't get any better for black people. There's no freedom. You have to deal with the black codes. And the black codes say you can't walk in town after 4 p.m., after 6 p.m., unless you're in the presence of someone who owned you previously. Things like that. So John F. Kennedy's 64 Civil Rights Act, what it actually does is tells the Supreme Court of 1876 that, hey, sorry guys, but you're incorrect. That all people are entitled to civil liberties and you can't discriminate against them based on their color of their skin. And then because he wrote that, he's killed. I mean, you can't say because he's written that he's killed. I only speak about facts on this channel. It's my personal assertion that him ending the race war or trying to create equality of the races, which would mean all men are created equal, then that's the reason why he was murdered. And then they didn't think Lyndon Johnson would sign the 64 Civil Rights Act. They thought he would welch on doing that. And so this is going to be the beginning of the fight for freedom. Remember, black people are freed in 1954, but you're not free, Holmes. Sorry. There's still white bathrooms all the way up to the mid-60s. There's white bathrooms and black bathrooms all the way to the mid-60s. Desegregation? Nuh-uh. Not for 5-6 years of nothing. Forget it. Don't come in our town, black man. Especially after dark. Don't come around here. Right? I mean, that's the way it was, dude. And by the way, because of Barrera College versus Kentucky, because of this court case here, the 1906 case of Barrera College versus Kentucky, I put Barrera EDU because it's just smaller for the board, but Barrera College versus Kentucky, what that did is created the idea that you can't even share the same space with different races. Barrera College was educating black, white, Asian, Filipino, Chinese, Asian, Japanese, Mexicans. They were educating all people in the state of Kentucky. After the Plessy versus Ferguson holding of 1896, then Barrera College was then limited to who they could teach in their school. And now I'm talking specifically about you can't have different races in the same school, even if it's at different times. So this is going to begin this idea that if there was a black kid sitting here or standing right here before I got here, this is a gross spot to be in. Like there was a black kid in this desk a minute ago. My dad told me black kids have skin diseases. My dad told me black people flake off their dead skin and it causes cooties. That's going to start from Barrera College versus Kentucky because segregating the races is one thing in Plessy versus Ferguson. And that's based on that black people are Jim Crow, that they're feeble-minded fools that certainly could never vote in the 15th Amendment. That's why they're slaughtered, because they voted in a Republican governor in Louisiana, and so that's why they got slaughtered. Jim Crow voted in a Republican governor. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit off here. Jim Crow, the clown, voted in a Republican governor after the 15th Amendment was passed, so we killed all those clowns. That's the Jim Crow ideology. That's how you hear Jim Crow laws. Jim Crow is not a mean white man who owned a plantation who was a cracker. That's not who Jim Crow was. Jim Crow was a white actor named Dartmouth Rice. Dartmouth Rice did a minstrel act where he painted his face with blackface and his hands black. And then he did this blackface act where he acted like a feeble-minded clown from 1830 to 1860. He retired when the Civil War began. And then after that, the reference of black people being freed at the 13th Amendment was that you freed Jim Crow. You freed the Jim Crows of our entire world. Now we have a bunch of Jim Crows walking around. So then the 15th Amendment, that Jim Crow reference really gets indentured. Boom. Can't have Jim Crow voting in the elections. All the white people are saying Jim Crow's going to vote in the elections. And so then when he does, the black man does vote in the election and the Republicans win, then that causes the massacre. You guys shouldn't have voted. You caused the massacre. It's like when you call home from jail and your friend says, "What'd you do?" "No, bro, what happened to me?" Thanks, appreciate that. So, Saturday and Sunday, big fundraiser day for me, guys. Got to buy some books. If you can buy a book or a wall graphic, you can get it right there at deletelaws.com. Deletelaws.com. If you don't have $20, no problem. I'll give it to you for free. I'll give it to you for free. For free. I'll give you the book for free if you go to deletelaws.com and you register. Wall graphic available on deletelaws.com. Ebook available on deletelaws.com. If you learned anything from me and you're like, you know what? I want to come back. I like this guy. Well, the way I stay here is that you buy me a cup of coffee right there. Please buy me a cup of coffee if you can. If you can afford to buy me a cup of coffee. If not, I'll gladly buy you a cup of coffee. How about that? How about that? What's up, Playboy? So now what we're going to have here is, I kind of went down the list here, but I just want to make sure that in succession we understand, and I'll kind of do this rapid fire because I want to walk down the history of time as quickly as I possibly can. My curriculum is almost done. I only have one thing left after this, and then I'll let you guys go. Thanks for spending your night with me. So I told you remember what I said? With the Supreme Court, you don't say, the Supreme Court, they're so great, they're so wonderful. No, with the Supreme Court, you think cause, effect. Cause, effect. The Supreme Court is the cause of the effect of the atrocities in our country. The Supreme Court is the cause. So when you look at this lynching graph, just understand, you can attribute it right here to this unelected body, right here. Right? The people up here who we do not elect, that don't care about you and me. They only care about big business, big money, their elitist friends, and turning a profit. That's why there's a for-profit prison industry. What humane individual would say, you know what, we're locking up all these people, let's create a profit system on that? What kind of person does that? Think about that for a moment, just for a moment. Let's create a profit system. Or how about let's end the stupid war on drugs that has not worked out. There's more people doing drugs than ever before. It's crazy. So we have this trifecta of things going on. We have this Jim Crow branding, and then we have the amendments of the elected that they give to us, and then we have the Supreme Court stripping away those rights. The lynching chart happens from there. And then right here, though, in this particular segment of time, right here, let me come back just a scooch, right there, okay? So this is going to be the last bastion of American imperialism. Let me move my light a little bit. This is going to be the last bastion of American imperialism right here. This is it right here. So this is going to be, so just so you know, we've been imperialists since the inception of America. And I said I would do a little bit of Native American history tonight, but then that was my last thing, and I'm going to walk through this, and then I'll call it a night because it's sunsetting and I got to get up at 6. So when I talk about imperialism in America, do you guys know what I mean? Do you guys know when I say America, an imperialistic country? Do you guys know what that means? Do you guys have any idea? When I say America is an imperialistic country, what does that mean exactly? Do you guys know exactly what I'm saying when I say that? Do you guys know what that means? It's important that you understand what that means, because if you understand what it means, then from there we can have common ground so that I don't educate you on a subject that you're just completely ignorant about. So just a little participation. Do you? I wrote an ebook. Yeah, you get my ebook, Kitty? Yeah. Sunday's a day where I try to give away or sell as many ebooks and wall graphics as I possibly can. If you don't buy an ebook or wall graphic from me, let me give you one for free. If you don't purchase one from me, then go to the website and let me give you one. Let me give you a book or a wall graphic. If you don't buy one, cool. Let me give you one. You see the difference? Then you educate yourself. So now let's go back here, okay? So now remember, we're going to go back here to 1876, to the beginning of the foundation of our country, where we found this country, and we're a country based on liberty and freedom and the Second Amendment, private property and due process, and we have all these amazing writings here, and the men who write these things, are this guy here, James Madison and Thomas Jefferson. They are morally bankrupt. They are completely bankrupt. And so you say to yourself, you know, James Madison was a genius. James Madison was off the charts smart. As smart as Einstein, some say. Why would James Madison be immoral? Why would he think that it's okay to own other people? And so when you get into the discovery, the doctrine of discovery, that's going to be written in 1452, the doctrine of discovery is going to say, written by the Pope Michael, I believe. I could be mistaken on that, but I think it's Pope Michael. And he's going to say that the discovery of doctrine is going to say that any Christian man, if they get in a boat and they go around the world and they find land that isn't inhabited by Christians, then that Christian man has a right to every movable and immovable object and has the dominion over every occupant, not owner, over every occupant of that land, dominion meaning total submission control, and they can then take the occupants of said land where there was no Christians and they can put them into slavery for the rest of their life. That's what the discovery of doctrine says. And this is the doctrine that's listed. You think I'm kidding? This is the discovery of doctrine that's listed in the 1816 case of Martin versus Hunter's leasing. Here. The discovery of doctrine is listed here. And this is based on settlers buying Panchiwa, Indian land, and then that land, when it goes to court, the federal government says, I'm sorry, I messed this up a little bit. I just got my lighting a little funny because it's a little later than I usually go. But in Martin versus Hunter's leasing, the federal government says, hey, the reason why the federal government owns this land and the reason why you can't buy land from Native American Indians is because of the doctrine of discovery that says that the first Anglo-Saxon Christian man at this continent called America, the first people who discover it that are Christian, that lay claim to it, are the rightful owners of the occupant's land. Do you follow what I'm saying to you? The idea of Native American Indians having any kind of ownership to the resources here is completely wiped away with the Pope's doctrine of discovery from 1452, when it says all movable and immovable possessions now belong to you because it's inhabited by a land of, it doesn't say the name of the people, it just says occupants. So just imagine, your brain can fill in the gaps for what the Pope thought of people who were non-Christian. So this is the beginning documentation that's going to be the founding era documents of our Bill of Rights. And now what's going to happen is, because the doctrine of discovery is 1452, of course we've conquered this land, we've brought slaves over, like we are the arbitrators of all life, we are the kings of the universe, we have left England and then kicked their ass in the Revolutionary War, we fought a Revolutionary War, a civil war here, and now we've become this amazing country. And now the Supreme Court, that's going to be finally functional in 1789, is going to do a series of shitty maneuvers that will ruin our country today. The shit country we live in today that we're going to fight for because we love this country and we're going to take this country back from the authoritarian Supreme Court was established in 1803. It was established here that the Supreme Court would be our masters and we don't elect them. It was established here, I'm not kidding. This is when it was established, right here. And so when you know that, and you know that information. So then you go into people who are far smarter than you, far smarter than I am, right? Because remember, I graduated last in my class. I'm not that smart. Getting no-knock rated drove me to learn this data. And so when you talk to people who are legitimately smart, who are like Ivy League educated and they score, perfect scores on their SATs and their LSATs and stuff like that, they already know what I'm telling you. I challenge any of you to go to Ian Millhiser's Twitter page, Ian Millhiser, Milhizer. He preaches this all the time. The problem with Ian is he's ruined himself. He has ruined himself. He has pitted himself and positioned himself as a political pawn. Because when you align yourself with Democrats or Republicans and you become a tribalist that I'm going to say that I don't like, it's the Democrats' fault or the Republicans' fault, you've lost yourself. You've lost yourself, friend. Please don't be offended by the truth. You've lost yourself. How come it is, why did I personally, and just so you guys know, I swayed all the way over from where I was going to vote for Bernie Sanders, I did not, and then I swayed all the way over before Trump went to his extreme outward racism, I was going to vote for Trump because he passed the First Step Act, which would put a curb on people being in prison, which let 6,000 people out of prison. I was pretty impressed with what he'd done in the prison industry. And then, he's just garbage. But he's the same as Biden, the garbage man. And so why would I drift from party to party, so far left to so far right? Why would I personally have thoughts of supporting Bernie, supporting Trump, supporting Obama? Like, I want to support somebody in power. Why do I want to do that? Why do I want to support somebody who I feel like is in power? Why would I want to support someone who's in power? Because when you support someone who's in power, it is as though you're getting your bidding done. And so when someone who's in power does your bidding, whatever your issue is, then what happens is when that person in power has other issues, it's human nature to go, well, this guy did let 6,000 people out of prison. I guess I could find that other thing he does acceptable or back that up because I really want him to let more people out of prison, right? And that's the power of being a subject in a gigantic civilization. That's the power of influence. I mean, the reason why I built this giant graphic to show you guys that the problem is Terry. I didn't build this big graphic because it's information that I needed to learn. I built the giant graphic so that you would look at it and over time your brain would conceptualize, this is wrong. People did not become 12,000 times more criminal. They simply did not. They simply did not. They simply did not. We did not devolve as a species. We did not devolve as a race. We did not devolve as a country. The laws became authoritarian, tyrannical, and we have to overturn this bullshit. It's plain as day. It's bullshit. It's right there. And the war on drugs. These two things combined, cops can grab you and you might have chemicals on you. Listen, right now, just so you know, right this minute, right this very second, right this very second. If I go outside, like I'm going to run over here after this and I'm going to run over and pick up a fresh sack of weed, right? I'm going to go over to the weed store after this because it's Sunday. I need to replenish some marijuana so that I have some more marijuana to smoke because I really like to smoke marijuana. Okay, so now when I walk out the street here and I walk down the road, if I have marijuana in a pipe in my pocket and a police officer pulls up next to me and says, I smell marijuana out here, is that you? And I say, I'm not going to answer any questions. What can happen to me? He's suspicious that I'm smoking marijuana. He smells marijuana. It's illegal to smoke marijuana on the public street. What can happen to me? What can happen to me after that? The cop says, I'm suspicious of you smoking marijuana. And he says, is that you smoking marijuana? And I say, I'm not going to answer any questions. I invoke the fifth. But he's absolutely sure that I'm smoking marijuana. It's me. He's sure of it. What happens to me? What's the next step? He's sure of it, guys. He's sure of it. He could swear to you that it's me smoking the marijuana. He would swear. He'd be like, you know what? Matter of fact, when I came around the corner, I thought I saw like a little puff of smoke above that guy's head. I'm pretty sure I saw that. So what's the next step that happens to me, fellas? But no, what is in reality? The cop came around the corner. I come around this corner right here, right? I come around this corner. Cop comes around the corner, puff of smoke. He smells the marijuana. I got weed in my pocket. And he says, hey, so now what happens to me? God dang it. Someone please be specific. What's the first thing that happens to me? He says, are you smoking the weed? I say, I'm not answering any questions. What's the first thing that he can tell me to do? The first thing the cop can tell me to do. Okay, what does detain mean? What's the first thing he's going to say to me? What's the first thing that cop is going to say to me? What is it? No, what's the first thing he's going to... Look at me, guys. I teach MMA. I'm 210 pounds. And he says to me, I think you're smoking marijuana. What's going to happen to me? What's he going to say to me? And I say, I don't answer any questions, officer. What's the first thing that happens to me? I can't believe it. I can't believe it. Get on your knees. That's the first step, guys. The first step is he looks at me. That guy looks like he does something. I mean, I look right. You don't look at me and go. I look at a guy that has the same kind of statute I have, and I go, he probably knows some shit. I'm not going to mess with that guy. I don't want to mess with anybody. I don't want to fight anybody. Are you kidding me? It's the last thing I want to do in a million years. My brain is full of information. I don't want to knock my noodle and not have a good memory. So the first thing that said to me is get on your knees. Get on your knees. And if I don't, then comes out the taser. I need to search you for weapons. That's a Terry stop. Upon suspicion of me smoking marijuana in West Hollywood, California, where marijuana is legal, I can walk to the weed store right after this and buy a fat sack of weed. You can't smoke it in the street publicly. He smells marijuana, thinks it's me. First thing that happens to me is I have to get on my motherfucking knees. That's the first thing that happens to me, friends. And the second step could be far worse. Are you white? You never been arrested? Are you white? Terry stops were only for black people, originally. Terry stops were only for black people originally. They didn't really apply Terry stops to white people originally. And that's why the white population went down by 3,000% in prison, and the black population went up by 12,000% in prison. That's why right there that happened. That's why that happened right there. Okay? You guys, listen, I have not moved enough wall graphics and ebooks. I need to sell more and I need to give more away. If you don't have any money, it's free. Free wall graphic, free the thing I teach on every day. I'll email to you for free. You can print it out and put it on your wall. It's yours for free. There you go. You want to buy it? Thanks. Awesome. Thank you. If you don't, I don't care. I want you to get it. I got an ebook. It's free, or you can buy it. I don't care. Go here, register. I'm only giving it free if you go through the website. I'm only giving it free through the website. All right? So go by there if you would, please. Thank you. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you. I'm really grateful. Thank you. I haven't done all this. Listen, come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. You guys, is it your first time here? Is it your first time here? You know why I did this. You guys know why I did this? First time here? Do you guys know why I did this? Does anybody know why I did this? Someone tell them. Does anybody know why I did it? Anybody know why'd I do this? Why'd I create where I got to sell shit? Why'd I do all this? How come I did this? Anybody? Does anybody know why? The police no-knock raided me. They no-knock raided my house. That's what happened. They no-knock raided my house. Gave me PTSD. I really, I don't say the word HAT, but I had a lot of HAT for police for a very long time. And now I've learned how to say police officer. I'm doing very good at it. Did you notice? I'm so grateful. Did you notice? They no-knock raided my house because a little birdie told them I was a drug dealer. That's what happened. Go to the YouTube page, by the way, guys. Go to the YouTube page, Delete and Laws. Delete and Laws YouTube page so you can see long-form videos. Long-form videos on Delete Laws YouTube page. Delete Laws YouTube page. Go there and watch those videos. Delete Laws YouTube page. Right? I think Changing the Narrative did an interview on me the other day. I don't know where it is, though. It's on a podcast or YouTube, maybe. I don't know. Listen, I'm just a regular old idiot. I'm a regular old dummy. I'm a regular old fool. I swear, I promise you, man. You'll see. Over time, I will show how dumb I really am. But I do know a lot about this shit. I know a lot about this. I know a lot about this particular subject. I know a lot about wrestling and MMA, and I know a lot about nutrition. I know a lot about sociology, about understanding the groups of people and how to break groups of people up into sections and stuff like that. So I understand a lot about sociology. I understand a lot about the criminal justice system, about policing. I understand about a lot of different things. Go by that YouTube page, guys, Delete and Laws. Go by the YouTube page, Delete and Laws, and you will be able to learn. You'll be able to learn by watching, especially the first 3 episodes of Overturn Terry. The first 3 episodes of Overturn Terry, that'll teach you what I'm about. The first 3 episodes of Overturn Terry, if you watch those, that'll teach you what this wall's about and why I'm here and what I'm doing here. And the reason why I send out so many, and I did not get enough requests for free stuff. I did not get enough requests for free books. I really didn't. Because 7 out of 10 people don't have an extra $20 or $40. And so if I'm not giving away a lot of books, that means I'm not interesting people enough. I need to interest you a little bit more. So I'm not giving enough away. I need to give away more free books. Don't get me wrong, if you're flush, pay up, baby. I need your $20. But if you're not flush, which I need you to march with us. I need everybody to march together. Rich, poor, flush, tall, skinny, black, white, they, them, boogers, no boogers, your butt smells, your butt doesn't smell. I need everybody to march together. You don't have to have $20 for some dude's wall graphic to march. The wall graphic's full of information, so you'll learn why we march. That's what I'm trying to do here. That's what I'm trying to do. I should get off here and be overwhelmed with the 7 out of 10 people who I know don't have an extra $40. I know that. I know it to be factual. 7 out of 10 people don't have an extra 50 or $100. It doesn't exist. So if I'm not giving away tons of free shit, then I haven't reached you enough. Because if you're not pulling hard dollars out of your pocket and giving it to me, then either number 1, you don't give a shit, or number 2, you don't care about the process, right? Or you would be DMing me going, dude, give me a free book. If you care, you'll register and I'll give you a free book. I'll give you a free wall graphic. You see what I'm saying? You see my logic here? You don't remember the people who march, when we march on DC in 2022, most of us will be poor. Most of us will be peons who have nothing. Most of us will have come from zero. I come from nothing. Most of us will come from nothing, those of us who march on Washington, to change this bullshit system. Most of us won't have anything to offer financially. That doesn't mean you don't have a vote. You do. And that's why I'm giving away free shit. I'm a little rough around the edges. My delivery could be a little nicer, I guess. But that's the truth. That's why I'm giving it away for free. So that you'll learn this shit. So you'll learn it. That's why I'm doing it. I'm not doing it because I'm flush and I'm rich. I'm doing it because I want you to learn this shit. And I'm willing to give you the things for free because I know that most people don't have any money, man. That's the truth. Most people don't have any money. Most people are struggling. But I can tell you why. Because of the Lochner era. From 1897 till 1937, the Lochner era is why everybody's so broke today. Because during the Lochner era, right here, during this era, this time period right here where I hold the water cup up, what they did here is they gave all the power to big businesses. They gave all the power here for you to earn a fair wage, Remember, hey, you guys ever heard about the Roaring 20s and the Roaring 30s? You guys ever heard about the Roaring 20s and 30s? You guys ever hear about that? Who's heard about the Roaring 20s and the Roaring 30s? You ever heard about that? You ever heard about that? Let me explain what that means. The Roaring 20s and the Roaring 30s, what that meant was that you were going to work your ass off to the point where you would die at work. You would work 80 hours a week in an industrial complex right after World War I. World War I is going to end in 1918, 1919, then they're going to prohibit alcohol in 1920. People are going fucking crazy without having a drink. People are going nuts from not having a drink in 1920. I mean, and by the way, just so you know, most people want to have a drink, okay? Don't judge them. You're not perfect. You heroin user, whatever you are, right? So then right here, this is where prohibition is going to form the country that America can create a criminal state. This is people think that the prison industry was developed during the 13th Amendment. Afraid not. Afraid not. Prison industry was created during Prohibition, when they created an organized system of people to have guns and cages. And by the way, the reason why those guns and cages right here, this prison system so nasty, because the most dangerous time in the history of America to be an American was right here. This is when everything was the most dangerous right there. The most dangerous time in America was Prohibition. Not the Wild West, not during the 60s. The most dangerous time to be an American was 1920 to 1933. That's the most dangerous time to be an American. So, whoop, did I get that? Whoop, 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 whoop. Yeah, guys, listen, I have a wealth of information, and you're going to find more information on my YouTube page, Delete Laws. I would sit here and teach you guys law all day and all night, and I love it. Please go by my website and get a copy of my wall graphic or my ebook. And if you don't have 20 bucks, just get it anyway. Be like, yo, bro, give me that wall graphic. And I'll give it to you for free. I'll give it to you absolutely for nothing. And it'll be my pleasure to give it to you, because that means that you really give a shit about what I'm talking about. That's what that means. If you care enough to send an email through my website and be like, yo, dude, I want that free book you're talking about, I'll give it to you, dude. Free wall graphic? Cool. What about the police commissions? Sure. What about the racist origins of gun control? What about that document? Sure. Wickersham Commission? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Free? Yeah. Mm-hmm. What about the LaGuardia report on marijuana? Have anybody ever heard of LaGuardia? Anybody ever heard of LaGuardia? Anybody ever heard of LaGuardia report? Has anybody ever heard of LaGuardia report? Has anybody ever heard of the LaGuardia report? Has anybody ever heard of the LaGuardia report? Have you ever heard of that before? Anybody? Can you guys answer me? Yes, I have heard of it. No, I have not heard of the LaGuardia report. Would you please do that for me, pretty please? Nope. So it's 80 years old, just so you know. You have not, I have not. Wow. I'm going to get a lot of requests for it now. Let me grab it. And there it is. There. Boom. 1 second. There it is. I got it. Okay. So, remember, I told you that our entire penal system, our entire capitalistic prohibition on drugs, our prohibition on alcohol, it's all based on big capital and controlling the fossil fuel industry and controlling the pharmaceutical industry, the newspaper industry. All the laws that were passed that make us a total police state are based on marijuana. Cannabis is the crucial crux of history that the authoritarian, racist, capitalists seized on to destroy our country. And that's the destruction of our country today is based on cannabis, just so you know. And so in 1944, a guy named, I'm going to mess up his first name, it's so Italian. It's like Guidardo LaGuardia. I don't want to be rude to Mr. LaGuardia, but what he did, the Harry Anslinger commissions all of this propaganda and lies about marijuana and creates what's called reefer madness. It's a bullshit thing. And he creates this reefer madness bullshit propaganda. And so they criminalized marijuana with the 1937 Marijuana Tax Act, where you have to get a license to smoke marijuana to be able to get a tax receipt for it. And if you cannot get a tax receipt for marijuana, well, then you can't buy or sell it. So that's, and just so you guys know, I don't want to leave any cultural context out. I want you guys to truly understand what happened here. This man's name is Andrew Mellon. Andrew Mellon has been the Secretary of the Treasury, the head of the United States Treasury Department, not just for Herbert Hoover and not just for Franklin Delano Roosevelt, but also for Calvin Coolidge. This is on the graphic, right? So now right here, what's going to happen right here, Andrew, and I teach this a lot. No, I haven't taught it in a week or so, but I'll teach it to you guys now. Andrew Mellon is the head of the Secretary of Treasury for the United States government. He's a very powerful guy. And he's going to marry Harry Anslinger. He has a daughter. His daughter's going to marry Harry Anslinger. And Harry Anslinger, if you scroll up right here, right back here, 1932, 1934, is it 1934? Harry Anslinger is going to start the Federal Narcotics Agency. And part of the reason why he's going to start that Federal Narcotics Agency is to criminalize marijuana, because Andrew Mellon's been in federal government for years and years, so he diversifies his money in a guy, maybe you've heard of him, named Lamont DuPont. Maybe you've heard of DuPont. I bet you have. And then right here, Andrew Mellon is going to diversify his money again, because he's head of the the Secretary of Treasury. He's going to then diversify his money into William Randolph Hearst. William Randolph Hearst is going to be involved in this thing called newspapers. So William Randolph Hearst, he's going to write a bunch of articles, create a bunch of propaganda based on Harry's instruction that marijuana is the devil, because Harry, remember, William Randolph Hearst has just bought a bunch of wood over there in, was it Venezuela, Brazil, Argentina? I can't remember. One of a South American country, I think it was. He just bought 1 million acres of wood or something. And so, of course, they don't want marijuana. The hemp, remember, hemp and marijuana, it grows every single summer. You get a brand new stalk of trees that you can print newspapers on every summer. And William Randolph Hearst, he doesn't want that, because he just bought all those trees over in India, is it? Someone fact check me, please. So then right here, when Harry marries his daughter, here's what happens. He marries his daughter, he's invested in marijuana and in pharmaceuticals and in fossil fuels. And so when he passes the Marijuana Tax Act in 1937, right here, Marijuana Tax Act 1937. Marijuana Tax Act is legislation by the federal Secretary of Treasury named Andrew Mellon. Andrew Mellon is the one who writes that act. And so what happens right here is when he marries his daughter, he passes the Marijuana Tax Act in 1937. Andrew Mellon dies. He dies. So that has a huge implication on the man who's the head of the Federal Narcotics Agency. Because the man who's the head of the Federal Narcotics Agency is now also heir to Andrew Mellon's fortune, because he's married Andrew Mellon's daughter. And so, because he's married Andrew Mellon's daughter, and he's invested in fossil fuels, now Harry Anslinger is going to become a possessed devil. He's going to go head over heels to criminalize cannabis, because now he's the heir to his fossil fuel. He's the heir to his DuPont pharmaceutical industry that he doesn't want THC. They don't ever want to find out what's in that THC leaf. And a lot of poor children today who battle epilepsy would have been better off if Harry Anslinger and John D. Rockefeller and Andrew, well, Carnegie, he's a part of it, but he's a far part of it, because he's such a strange character in history. So now this happens, right? I kind of did a long explanation here so you can understand that he criminalizes marijuana solely for the fossil fuel industry, so he can own the rights to the wood, to the pharmaceuticals, the whole thing. And so, this is 1937, but the mayor of New York, marijuana is as popular in 1937 as it is today. I smoked a great big bong rip before I got on here. I can't wait to get off and smoke another bong rip, right? Marijuana is very popular. I function, I read contracts, I break down scripts, I do research when I'm stoned out of my gourd, right? So in 37, they say that marijuana is the devil. It'll turn you into an axe murderer. So this guy named LaGuardia, he commissions a study called the LaGuardia Report. And the LaGuardia Report is going to be published in 1944. And the cool thing about the LaGuardia Report, it's a really easy read. This is not a hard read, which, by the way, I can send this to you in PDF, or you can just find it online like I did. It was easy. And by the way, look, look, this is not a hard read. You read this in like 2 days. You read this in 2 days if you're not really trying to read it. I mean, that's not true. I guess it took a week for me. I just read it a little bit every day, and by the time I looked up, I was done. But the cool thing about the LaGuardia Report is, so how many people here have a friend? I got my best friend. My best friend is a gay guy here in West Hollywood. He's my best friend. I love this guy so much. How many people have a friend here that will come to you and they'll say to you, man, I gotta take a break from the weed, dude. I gotta take a break from the weed. I'm going through like all these things like in my head and like I gotta take a break from the weed, bro. Right? How many people have that friend? Does anybody have that friend? Does anybody have that friend that's like, I gotta take a break from marijuana? Like they still have this old school idea that it's the marijuana. Like it's the marijuana. Like you're fucked up because of the marijuana. Like, you know what? If I didn't smoke this, and just so you know, you know what? I'm bearing my soul here. Ugh, I guess I'm the same. So before I read the LaGuardia Report, I guess I was the same way. Because we all go through mental psychosis. Whether that be a manic or depressive state, or whether that be because your uncle passed, or your mom, or your dad, or your sister, or your brother passed on, or a teacher passed, or Mercury's in retrograde. We all go through these like emotional things, right? That you know are hard to go through, you know. And so we go through that, right? So when you read the LaGuardia Report, though, every time you feel like, oh man, it's the weed, I'm all fucked up. This was done by a commission by the New York governor, and it took 4 years. This wasn't like we just researched marijuana and here's our findings, guys. No. This was 4 years of double-blind studies. And when you get to the back of the book here, in the back of the LaGuardia Commission, LaGuardia Report, you'll start to get into things where it shows you how they did the testing, like how they did the actual testing to find out if marijuana, does it ruin your aptitude? Does it ruin your motivation? Does it ruin your hunger? What about sex? Do you lose sex drive? You know, what about attitude? Do you have a bad attitude? What about motivation? Do you lose motivation? You know, what about, they call it, by the way, in here they call it the couch potato. So if you've heard the term couch potato syndrome or something like that, couch potato, the term couch potato comes from the 1944 publication of the LaGuardia Report. Which, by the way, when this came out, so you know the real history. Let me just tell you the real history. Harry Anslinger and the fossil fuel industry rounded up all the copies and burned them. You never heard of this because it was squashed. Furthermore, not only did they round up all the copies and burn them, Hearst, the head of the newspaper industry, he then published a series of articles debunking both the LaGuardia Report that you couldn't read and the Governor LaGuardia. And I'm pretty sure that they ran him out. I'm pretty sure, you know what? I'm talking out my ass. I don't remember. I don't remember if I got to that because I got sidetracked on researching the FDA to find out the role of the FDA in helping Harry Anslinger criminalize marijuana. I got distracted, so I didn't get into it. But I know that William Randolph Hearst, he demonized. So when I found out, though, that this piece of shit Hearst, that he demonized the LaGuardia Report, I had to read it. I was like, I know he's a piece of shit. I know he's a piece of shit. I know he's a piece of shit. And I know he's a piece of shit. So, you know, which by the way, later in life, I'm a wrestler. I love wrestling. I love MMA, my two favorite sports. Later in life, this guy, his son, his piece of shit son, Lamont DuPont, his grandson, I believe, would murder the greatest wrestler of all time named Dave Schultz. His grandson would sponsor Dave Schultz and his family and bring them onto the DuPont property, and then he would murder Dave Schultz, the greatest wrestler in the history of America. And his grandson murdered him. That's how fucked up the DuPont family has been since the beginning, and that piece of shit died in jail, just so you know. And I'm glad he did, to be honest. I guess I'm not so liberal, am I, guys? Not so liberal, am I? I'm glad he's dead. Go by my website, pick up my ebook. If you learned absolutely anything from me, don't be afraid to buy your boy a cup of coffee. Right there. Venmo, Cash App. Drop me a cup of coffee, boys and girls. $2 from every one of you, and all of a sudden, this makes a very successful lecture so that I can continue to work on more lectures tomorrow. That's why I want you to buy me a cup of coffee. That's the whole point. That's the whole point. That's the whole point. That's the whole point. That's the whole idea. So that, because, by the way, the information that I'm disseminating here before you, the information that I'm laying out before you, I don't have any grand illusions that it's going to be me that changes a damn thing. It's going to be a kid. It'll be a 10-year-old kid. As soon as we get traction in this movement, it was nice to be here, guys. I had a good time. I lived a hell of a life. My 20s was more fun than you could shake a stick at. I loved it. I loved every bit of it. I had so much fun. I dated more women than I could count. I was always a pretty decent human being through life, so I've had a good run. As soon as we get traction, I'm gone. So I can't wait till the kid that you read this ebook to changes this world. I can't wait till the kid watching this who's 15 years old. I can't wait till you go to law school and you make these pieces of shit electable. I can't wait till you change the world. I'm here to give you the ball. I'm here to show you what has to change. It's not my job to lead this, it's yours. It is your job to tell your friends. Terry v. Ohio is the linchpin of the prison system and the linchpin of the death system. It is your job now. I hand you the ball. It is your ball. I said I'll give you the frickin' information for free. I'll give you the documentation for nothing. I gave you the ball. I showed you where to look. It's Terry versus Ohio. It's Terry versus Ohio. That's the problem. That's the problem. That's it. And then we got to overturn Kerr after that, and then we got to overturn Carroll. And along the way, we have to end this bullshit war on drugs. All right. All right, I've been on for too long, guys. I've been on for too long. I know there's 250 people here or whatever it was, so I got to get out of here. Listen, God bless you. Thank you so much for watching my live session. I really appreciate it. I've been nothing but transparent with what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. And I guarantee you, if we overturn Terry in my lifetime, I will be standing there when that legislation is signed. And I will have so many of you to thank along the way. So many people have helped me get to 1 million, by the way, 1 million. I got to go after this, but go to this profile and like. I got 200 people in here. Go to this profile and like a bunch of videos. I'm going to break 1 million likes today. I'm going to break 1 million likes today, but I need your help. Go to the last, I never asked for people to do this, but I will now because I'm so close to 1 million. It's so cool. I see these people who do these dances and they do the lip syncing shit and they got like 35 million likes. I think to myself, I teach constitutional law. I give my shit away for free mostly. And I got 996,427 and then it goes 428, 429. But this account's super shadow banned. I mean super shadow banned. Big time. Big time. I hit 1 million? Hey! Hey! Celebrate! Celebrate! Celebrate. I don't know. Okay, that was great. Now what? We hit 1 million. Great. That plus a bong rip will make me feel a lot better because having 1 million followers on TikTok for one guy who's a peon, it doesn't mean shit. It means absolutely nothing. Thank you. Thank you for liking my things, but we have to overturn Terry versus Ohio. Don't dilute yourself. We have to overturn Terry. Okay? We have to dilute Terry. I'm so excited I hit 1 million. It's so cool. It's so cool. It's been such a wild ride, to be honest with you. They've closed my account, closed my account, closed my account. I was going to have to move offices, trying to rent different spaces to different people. I'm trying to rent 2 offices more. I rented 1 office today. I need to rent 2 offices more. So if anybody lives in LA and wants to rent a space between $750 and $1,000 a month, I got 2 other spaces. I got 1 rented, but I got 2 more. So that's what I'm trying to do to make sure we can keep this going. Keep it going! That a boy, eagle eye, good swing there, batter, good swing batter, good swing batter, that's a good swing batter. All right, I'm done looking at myself for a while. I gotta get out of here. Nothing but love for you guys. I hate to leave a couple hundred people, but you know what? I gotta get out of here. I've been on here for 2 or 3 hours. I'm gonna hope that I can go to the gym. Is it 9 o'clock yet? I'm gonna hope I can go to the gym. Listen, hey, moderators, thank you guys so much. New friends, new fans, new followers. Remember, I subscribe to you too. I follow you too. It'll take me 2 or 3 emails to get you this stuff. I'll sit and do it with you, and I'll take the patience to give it to you, and I don't mind one bit. So thanks, guys. Appreciate you guys. All right, man. I got to get out of here. Later.